Team 2, is it, or Team 1? I don't know. I've lost count because you throw me.
Team 1.
Jumping around. Team 1, go on, and number 8, please.
Okay. So the construction phase health and safety plan must be outlined. The health and safety arrangements, site rules, and a specific measurement concerning any work involving risk.
This is what information is contained within the construction health and safety plan. Right? Construction phase health and safety plan. So, if we look at page 49, or form G700, forms GA24. Right? So that is there. This is a give me. Right? It is a give me. And it's got certain titles. If you look on that form, it's got certain titles you just need to follow. Description of the project, detail of the project team, including the management of the work, the arrangement, management of the works, arrangements for controlling significant site risks, the health and safety bar, significant design and construction hazards. It's in the forms and checklist. All you've got to do is follow it down, scroll down. Boom. Right. Number 9, Team 2, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. We've got yes, due to the scale of the project, the fact that they're multiple contractors, and it's likely to last more than 30 days.
The fact that it what? Sorry? I missed the second one. So
there's going to be there's
longer
multiple
than 30 days. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's multiple contractors on site.
Yeah. And it will exceed the 500 person base. Yeah. Probably. If it gets done before that, if it gets done with less than 20 contractors, I'll be really surprised. You know what I mean? But, so, yes, is that, so it's notifiable. Page 43, right? Page 43 in your books. It is there, page 43. So the last one, number 10, is Team 1, isn't it?
Number 10. Oz, do you want to do this?
Yeah, I can do it. The health and safety file is the final document to be produced under CDM. This document gets handed over to the client on the project completion. For them to keep it containing health and safety information needed in the future use, cleaning and maintenance of the building or structure.
You told me absolutely, all you've told me now is basically not a lot. Really? Not a lot. Right? So, not a lot. So, I'll now just elaborate on a little bit. Right? It will have a brief description of the work carried out. A brief description of the work carried out. It won't be massively detailed, but it will have some details on it. Right? Any hazards that have not been eliminated through design or construction process and how they've been addressed. For example, surveys or other information concerning asbestos, land contamination, water bearing strata, underground services. So it's about what's under the ground as well. Key structural principles, for example, bracing, sources of substantially stored energy, because we're doing that quite a lot now, where we're putting on solar panels, things like that. All that energy is got to be stored somewhere, including postal or pre-tensioned members, their rated capacity, safe working loads for floors and roofs. So that's all the structural calculations as well. Hazards of material use, for example, lead paint, pesticides, special coatings. Information regarding removing or dismantling installed plant and equipment. As I said to you before about the air conditioning units, needs a 20-ton crane or a 50-ton crane that has to be sited in a certain area to lift it down. Or, it might be because the balcony over that side has got to have a cantilever which is addressed from another block. It could be anything. It's part of the design and it's part of the potential hazards of it. Right, so the nature and location of markings and significant services, including underground cables, gas supply, firefighting equipment and services, and so on. As-built drawings, as-fitted drawings, as-fitted information, plant and equipment, for example, the means of safe access to and from service voids, fire doors, and the it's nice. It's what compartmentation. I can't say the word. Do you know what I mean? It's compartment. Oh, I know you're going to go there. Right. It's when you got different compartments. I can't say the word, and it's a long word, and it's like every single letter in the alphabet's been used in it. But it's compartmentalization. Anyone want it? Anyone writing it? And so on. It's about where you separate things for fire. Oh, can't get it out, but I can't say it anyway. But your forms and checklists are a mine full of information, right? There's lots of it there. It's really easy to assess. It's really easy to follow, right? But you need to use the equipment you've been given, right? So thank you very much. I'm just going to quickly look at just quickly look at your forms, because obviously they were late coming in the second one. I just want to make sure that you've completed it, because facilities on site. You can see there a small box. Right, these are the minimum requirements. Right, required for health and safety compliance, and it is always minimum. Right, because when you look at welfare, they do like to give you a figure of 11 cubic meters per person, and some of you are already site managers, and you'll be aware when you get a health and safety inspection, whether it's internal or external, whatever it is, and comply, it's not big enough, or you haven't got it. Have you ever had that? Have you ever got that? You know, those of you as site managers, have you ever had that? No. Mental health. This is what you give me, is stress and mental health. Right?
It's not true.
Stress and mental health. Right? So this is really important for you guys, because you're now moving into site management. Right? You're now moving into site management, or some of you are already here. I spoke about this with Bala, and Bala's in the middle management site. So he doesn't run the site, but he doesn't do the junior work either. So he's middle, and the reason he stays in that middle section is because he has a good work-life balance. And that's what we need to get you guys to. So you're not really stressed out, contractor under pressure, and you're not really stressed out as a site manager under pressure from your contracts manager. He is one of these fortunate people, and I do say fortunate because he's found his work-life balance. And if you can get to that stage in his life, in your life, he can chase money and go for the big money like we were speaking about last week. He can chase that, but when it comes to pressures, and he's happy. And that's good, isn't it? It's good, isn't it, mate? That's what you're looking for. That's what you're looking for. Because even an ice cream man gets stressful when a kid keeps coming back up and says there's not enough sweets in my ice cream, or you give me and it's melted, or it dropped on the floor. Even he's got a stressful life, or it's really hot, or it's really cold, and he doesn't do any take-ins for the day. Everyone has stress in their job. It's how we deal with it. So what do we mean when we say stress and mental health? Does anyone know? I can't hear you. You need to unmute. Unless you've got a noisy environment, I don't want you muted. You should all be unmuted, because I need
I had a sandwich, sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, stress. People stressed at work. And to be fair, some people dress through. Everybody takes things differently. So
what do we mean by the work? What do we mean by stress as such? What is stress?
Stress.
You're taking on too much work.
People get into them. It gets to them too personally. They start feeling
too much, maybe.
Overwhelmed.
It's overwhelmed. I like that word.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the definition for it. Stress is a person's reaction to excessive pressure or demands placed upon them. You have to write this down. But that's what stress is. So stress is a person's reaction, excessive pressure or demands placed upon them. It's psychological in origin, right? It can produce both physical and behavioural effects. Right now, we're now talking about us as individuals, and we will cover us as individuals, and this bit can be a little bit complex, a little bit confusing for all of us, but I'll try and explain it in layman's terms the best way I can. Right. So when we look at behavioural effects, intense and prolonged bouts of stress can lead to ill health, right? Which can affect a person both physically and psychologically. So it has an impact on us massively. Too much or too little stress, that lack of adequate breaks away from the working environment. This is what I'm saying about what I eat in his desk, or Nodge eating in the trench. It's you're not getting a break from your actual working environment, and this is what we need. We need that break. We need to be able to get away and shut down. Right? We need to get away from it. I'm just unmuting you or asking you all to unmute because we seem to have no mute still, and there's no reason for you to be muted. Right? Because you don't have an input, and if you ain't got an input, you ain't going to pass the schools. Right? Too much or too little work or lack of adequate breaks can cause stress, lack of support from managers, shift patterns, unsociable hours, excessive overtime, bullying, harassment, discrimination. Bullying is a major factor, you know what I mean? It happens quite a lot, and it can give you stress. It can make you not want to go to work. Lack of control over your work, whether it's repetitive or monotonous. Lack of training, right? That can give you a lot of stress. Poor working environment. Fear of violence or lone working. Lots of people lone work. It can make them very stressed, very agitated. Organisational change, restructuring, redundancy. When my company used to say every Christmas time, and they used to say, "Oh, we're making people redundant." It's just what you want at Christmas time, isn't it? Personal issues, divorce, bereavement, finances, moving home, children. Effects of stress, likely effects of stress, can either be physical, behavioural, or a combination of both. It can give you high blood pressure, heart problems, depression, headaches, and fatigues. Behavioural effects, anxiety, irritability, increased reliance on cigarettes and alcohol, absenteeism, poor punctuality, poor concentration, poor aggression, mood swings, obsessive compulsive disorders, evasive behaviours. These symptoms can result in a number of health effects that may have long-term implications. Right? I need a drink, not alcohol. I need just to wet my tongue. Right? Such as heart disease, clinical depression, ulcers, nervous breakdowns. Right? Thanks for that, Ed. Just tease me. Right? Stress control measures. Right? We like to list them as demands, control, support, relationship, role, and change. Because obviously, if you change job, it can take a lot of stress. If you change role, it can either add stress or change it. Your relationships, you can have team building exercises. So I like to do a lot of this team building exercises. And it's about you building relationship within your teams. Support from your contracts manager or your CEO or your director means a lot. The demands, you could say, actually, I'm getting too much. You need to give something to someone else. You need to have a little bit of control of what you're doing. Look at them stats there. They're not good. Look at the stats. Remember, right, if you look at the top of the stats, Health and Safety at Work summary stats for Great Britain 2021. So this is in COVID, if you like. This is in COVID. Stress, it caused a lot of stress, depression and anxiety for a lot of people. It caused actual behavioural patterns, people massively changing. You know, I had one guy come to me and said to me, I risk my life screaming in my face, risk my life every day coming to work for you as a company. I politely said and tapped him on the shoulder. I said, you're risking your life very much so at this present moment in time, speaking to me like that. Go away. Right? You are taking your own life in your hands right at this present moment in time. I should go and have a tea break with you, mate, because you're getting very stressed. So, yeah, this is what COVID done to people.
A lot of people lost their job. Lots of people lost.
Yeah, lots. And when they lost their job, they got anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts. It affected us, and it's still affecting us. We talk about it every day. Still, every day we talk about COVID. Every day there's another threat coming around the corner, right? And that's now we're saying, because I don't know if you've all had it. We've all had sort of this cough and cold. Have you all had this cough and cold?
Yeah, I still got it, mate. You don't go, mate.
And you can't get rid of it, Nodge. Right? And they're saying the reason we can't get rid of it is because we've been hiding under the covers for the last 2 years, and our immune system is a little bit worse than what it was. Yes, James, go on, mate.
Yeah, just to mention on this topic of stress, obviously, I got personal something I think might contribute. I really struggled today, even in the exercise. I said earlier on that last week that I'm from Kenya, and that's where my family is. My older brother, from the alcohol he consumed, he went blind.
Yeah.
So now, and there's no NHS up there, so I'm having to deal with all of that.
Yeah.
To go to hospital, try and recover. And as of today, I got a little bit of good news that he started seeing very dimly.
That's mental. You know what I mean? He's gone blind, or he's had temporary vision loss from the alcohol, the amount of alcohol. Because what he's drinking, I'm gonna be really, I'm gonna really push this one out there. What he's drinking is shit in the first place, isn't it?
That's correct. Yes.
It's what you would put in your car to drive.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. So yeah, it is stressful for me. And
I just need to answer this call from my boss.
Carry on.
Sorry, for my fellow teammates, if I sounded really frustrated, especially some when we.
No, no problem, mate. No problem.
And then,
we're under the bridge. We moved on. No time for that.
But you know, we do get stressed. We do obviously what comes about with us and the working environment and what we do and how it goes around. You know, 100%. So you know, you've got to learn to work as a team, and you've got to talk to your team. If they were aware of it during the time, this is what I'm trying to get across to. You've now mentioned it in front of the group, right? I would say 4 million people will 4 million people viewing in on this, but you know, on television, if you like. But obviously, with the 12 of us, 13 of us, but if you'd have mentioned it in your group, they might have cut you a little bit of slack, and obviously they say, oh, you know, when I've got to go and answer this phone. You know,
just getting on with it, and they were so way ahead of me. I'm a bit slow at the moment, and
that's all right.
But you sounded familiar with what my brother's gone through.
Of course it is, yeah. But you know,
do you think it's recoverable, where he'd go back to normal from what you know? Have you ever heard of anyone recover? And because that's what's stressing me out the most.
Yeah, but it's all I can say. Stress is how you deal with life. It's just a slow pattern. It's a slow pattern. You just got to keep moving forward, onwards and upwards, as you say. Take each day as it comes, you know, and just try and deal with it. And as I say, get the right sort of support. If you're getting the right sort of support from people around you, as I say, if you can change the demands, the control, get the support, build relationship, perhaps change role, take a more less active, proactive role, and you know, take a back seat. You know, it's areas of it's change, because change is as good as the rest. So you know, they might take when they deal with stress in lots of ways, and they might send you to like, or get you with a dog, or go you to a pet farm with horses or something like that. Why? Because you then suddenly realise life isn't so stressful, and it can be a bit more tranquil, a bit more serene, you know, and effectively you've got better control over what you're doing.
And Frank, what I was gonna say, a lot of these companies now I've worked for, they show videos about all of this now, about mental health. I'm subbing for Morgan Sindel now, and they have mental health workers.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? On a day shift, there's about 10 guys. It's part of the training. Do you know what I mean?
It's part of the training now. Part of the training, Red Cross, right? Because it's all new, right? Unfortunately, right. So I'm just going to rewind 70 years or 60 years or 50 years. The demands wasn't there. You, Nodge, as a person, go to work. You get up and went to work at 7 or 6 in the morning. You would finish at 7 or 6 of an evening. You would walk out of there. You'd come home. On your way home, you would stop, have 2 pints, go home, have your dinner, go back to bed, and get up to work the next morning. Your life was not stressful. It wasn't stressful. You know, if it took you 4 days to complete a task at work, it took 4 days. You know what I mean? There wasn't the demands that we got in this fast-moving environment we have today. This is a massive stressful tool, right? A hugely stressful tool, and it dictates our life. The sooner you get rid of this, the sooner your life will be less stressful. When you used to go to work, you would go to work all day for 12 hours or whatever, and you would never hear from your wife prior to mobile phones. You wouldn't have that conversation with your wife. My wife now rings me. She rings me on my phone, and I'm busy, so I'll go like that. Oh, sir, ringing, right? So I'll chat, right? So she then, because I've got 2 phones, I've got a work phone and I've got a personal phone, right? So she'll ring the other phone, and I'll see that, and I'll do that, because I'm on the landline, let's say. And she say, and I've been trying the landline, and then she eventually gets through, and she says, I've been ringing you for 15 minutes. I said, and what happened? She said, it got rejected. And so I tried your other number, and that got rejected, and your landline was busy. I said, does not tell you something? I was on the phone to my client, my customer, or whoever it was someone important, and I didn't want to talk about we're having sausages for tea. You know, don't make my life more stressful. Get rid of the phone. Get rid of the phone. Get rid of it, because it just puts a lot of stress on it. You look at it, you always know you can't keep away from the things. Right? And that's the problem. It puts a lot of stress onto us. The sooner you go back to getting rid of these phones and start getting your life back, stop being controlled by the internet, right? But it's a massive, massive, massive thing, and you need to know that you've got support out there. Most health and safety training nowadays cover stress, anxiety, depression in some sort of way. Right? Most first aid training now covers it. It's an extra add-on, so you do your 3-day first aid training, but you can get the extra day mental health awareness. It's really important. So if you see anyone, you need to give them the support that they require. I'll just wait for the young one to come back, because obviously I don't know where he is. He's being stressed by work on a Saturday morning. All right, because he messaged me. He said, "Can I just answer my phone call from my boss?" Saturday morning. It's not being paid, but his boss is on the phone to him. You know what I mean? So I'll just wait for him to come back. Does anybody suffer with stress or anxiety or depression in any way?
No, but the thing is, at work, so we have, it's unbelievable how different people take it in different ways.
Of course there is. It's about that reaction.
Yeah, it's like we have this guy, young lad, he's 23, 24, happy-go-lucky and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he broke up with his missus.
Yeah.
They've been together for 4 or 5 years. You should see him, like he's drinking, depressed, not doing his job, like the stuff he's taking time off now. Like to me, that for the lads, that will never get to us, you know, kind of thing. That's my understanding of it. Before you break up, you move on, go down a pub and find yourself somebody else, or go, you know. move on.
Yeah.
Different people take different things in different
It's
manners.
as I said to you, the first thing I said to you, what is stress? When we were speaking about stress, is a person's reaction to excessive pressure or demands placed upon them.
Yeah.
So it's their individual reaction.
And then
Lots of people take it different ways. Yeah.
Because really and truly, if you're site, because we do site supervisors and stuff like that, and groundworks foreman, you got to go with the program. And if you're not going with the program and not delivering, that's stress. Every day I'm stressed. You're stressed every single day. Because at the end of the day, you need to come in the morning, sort the inductions out. You need to do the briefing in the morning. You got to do this, you got to do that. You're chasing that. It's stressful. But that's the job we've chosen to go into. Do you know what I mean? If you can't handle stress, there's no point going into management or supervising.
Right. No,
But these programs are getting ridiculous
there's
now.
ways to deal with that, Nodge, right? And in fairness, if you're organised, right, it's not very stressful. It's really easy. It's just ticking boxes.
I think that's you, because you've got probably about 30 years experience.
Experience.
It's still new. You're still new to it. Do you know what I mean? We're still trying to impress people and.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. Right. So it's about. You don't need 30 years worth of experience, and I'm not that old, you rotten sods. You
Yeah.
don't need that experience, but the more when you do something repetitively, it's easy, right? It's easy. So, and you don't become stressful. When you're good at your job, when you're competent, when you've got the skills, the knowledge, the attitude, the aptitude, the training, and the experience, right? When you've got that competency, right, it's piss.
Frank, it doesn't depends what team you have around you as well. It depends what
support. You know, right? I try to speak in layman's terms, and we're all blokes here. I do get a lot of women on this course, right? But I'll try to speak in layman's terms. Do you remember? I said to you earlier, EU hesitates, don't get there. You know what I mean? It's as simple as that. You've got to, it's lead from the front. You've got to lead from the front. You know, when you're in a bar, right? I'm presuming you all drink. Do you all drink? I presume you all do. Most people just drink. You're all stood in a bar and you think, she's all right. You're going to go over there and they go, okay, go. And it's a stressful time. It's a really stressful time. And you feel really stressed about what you're doing, yeah? Right? But...
Sorry to interrupt, Frank. This scenario, can you tell us what you're going to say to her first? From your
Give us your changes.
I'm just going to say, all right, darling, get your coat, you're bald.
Right? Come on, Frank. Come on, Frank.
So, it's as simple as that. But, all I'm trying to get across to you is it's a stressful situation, right? That stressful situation you can make better if you've got confidence, if you've got the ability, you've got the skills, she's going to go a certain way. I'm just talking about, because it could be a fella, I don't know, what your orientation is, what you look. I just picked on that sort of thing. If you're going to do something, if you're going to do a job, let's say you're going to cook something. Let's say you're going to cook steak. You're cooking a Sunday roast. Your mum's coming around and you've got to cook for 6 or 7 people, right? Or you're cooking a spaghetti bolognese. But you do that normally, because normally you're in before the wife or you're in before the kids, and you think, well, I'll cook that, and I generally do that. But then suddenly the pressure's there. Your mum's coming to tea, and it's got to taste like the way she's made it for the last 40 years. And you've now got to, you just go, actually, it can't, right? And when I make it, and she say, it's not not like mine, you go, it will never be like yours, Mum. No one makes it like you. I was going to ring you up and say, can you cook? But I thought it was unfair because I was inviting you around for tea. You've taken away, you're in control of that situation. You're in control of the demands, right? You've got that relationship, so it's how you deal with it. So you don't have to, when you talk about you doing all the inductions, right, it can be a stressful time. What you need to do is say, Nosh, and say, hang on a second, you need to be inducted. Can you just hang back there, please? I need to get these guys started. Because what they do, they all come in, they say, Carl, let's go warn Nosh up this morning. Let's all go in there, get him inducted, he needs first aid, and we need to know where we're going and what we're doing. and you need to be in control. It's about the control. You say, you're bleeding, I'll deal with you in a minute. Here's a towel, wrap that around your hand. I'll see to you in a second. The guy for the induction, can you just wait there? And you lot, you need to be on the same job you were doing yesterday. Here's your risk assessment and your method statement. Make sure you sign it and fill in the relevant permits. Right, you're gone. I'm now going to deal with the first aid because it's desperately important. He's collapsed. Right, let's deal with him. Right, I'll deal with the first aider and the induction can wait. Right, see, so you see where I've just controlled the situation. Right, and you can do it really easily. Right, really easily, and it's really important. You know, that you've got to have these control in place. You've got to have this support in place. Right? I'm now going to show you something. I need you to watch it. It's really important. I like to show it. The reason I like to show it, bone. See what I mean? It puts stress on you. You know what I mean? I don't know even who keeps messaging.
I wanted to ask you, is there any
construction industry is a pretty dangerous place to work. Every year, 40 people get killed on site. There's around about 2,000 people get injured in such a way that they can't actually go back to do the job that they were doing in the first place. The industry is the unveiling of the fact that 1/5 of the workforce at any one time is off because of stress, anxiety, or depression. And every single working day, we lose 2 construction workers to suicide. We have to do something about it in a big way. I think construction's got its own particular issues when we look at mental health. One is 87% male dominated, so there's a very macho environment and many of the projects are away from home. So you've got the stresses and strains of being away from the family and living in difficult accommodation sometimes. The other fact is that 53% of the workforce are self-employed. So they're always looking to see where the money's going to come from next and the next project. You add all that up together, it's a very difficult environment. My big message to the industry is there's no health without mental health. You've got to do something about making sure you've got a program to ensure the mental health of your workforce, your subcontract workforce, and their subcontracted workforce beyond that are included in your whole mental health program. Because if you look after them, they will look after your business.
The Lighthouse Construction Industry Charity is 100% dedicated to the well-being and welfare of the construction workforce and their families in the UK and Ireland. Our charitable services are free to all construction workers and their families and provide a 24/7 employee assistance safety net for anyone in our industry in need of emotional or financial support. Our vision is that no construction worker should be alone with their problem. They should always have somewhere to turn to for help in a crisis. And we are always here for them. On the positive side, we are reaching out to more construction workers and their families than ever before. But our fundraising, although the highest it has ever been, is simply not keeping pace with the urgent charitable need, and our limited reserves are being depleted at an accelerated rate. This is clearly not sustainable. This is why we desperately need your help, so we can plan with confidence and grow the charitable services that are so urgently needed to improve the well-being of our workforce and make our industry a better place to work for this generation and the next.
That shock you. On the first day of your course, you lost 2 companions, comrades, whatever they call them. On Sunday last week, you lost 2 more. By the end of the day, you'd have lost another 2. That's very, very sad. over 720 deaths from suicide in construction every single year that are non-recorded because we've only got 44 people died. 720. This is only the ones that they know about. Death from suicide construction workers. It's not good. We live in a massively stressful environment. We need to unstress wherever possible. Right? And we need to make sure that our life is not stressful. You're making me stressful by keep muting yourselves again. I'm muting you. Right? So you need to participate in this course. If you don't participate, you will not pass the course. Right? Frank, you look really stressful. You look like you're bouncing up and down there. You look like you're on a pogo stick.
Sorry, I'm just listening.
Up and down. You look really, really stressful. Don't be too.
No, I was just listening.
Just chill out, relax and listen. My monotonous tone should send you to sleep. It's okay. How we deal with stress and what we do to ensure we don't have too much stress are how we release our patterns, what we do. So generally this is done with abuse to our bodies in some form, some way or form. Mine is coffee, lots of it, right? It used to be coffee in bags, lots of them.
That's me.
Healthy, right? It's still not healthy, but anyway, right? So it's how we work, how we adjust, how we cope with it. Right? Lots of people misuse substances. That's the easiest way of putting it. Cocaine, heroin, crack, marijuana, prescription tablets, right? Prescription tablets. There's lots of things, solvents, alcohol. You know, a lot of site managers I know drink 1 to 2 bottles of wine every single night.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
1 to 2 bottles of wine every single night.
But that can be just alcoholism. It's not like it might be not even related to work.
It is, yeah. You know what James was on about earlier is because what his brother's drinking is a form of petrol, ethanol you will use in your car. You know what I mean? It's not good stuff. You know what I mean? It's not good stuff. You know, and lots of countries do that. Brazil is massively for drinking this illegal hooch that's made out of pineapples or fermented pineapples or shit like that. You know, and it's.
But construction is different because what happened? Like I got a lot of my friends work in different industries, and then sometimes they go, "Oh, we went out for dinner. We've done this, we've done that." But in our industry, the most you do with the boys, let's go down a pub. You know, construction mostly.
Because we're still working class. We're still working class. We're still working class. They still look at us as working class. You are you're an engineer. You're a trained engineer. You've got a degree in engineering. See, so if you mix with other engineers. Right, if you mix with other engineers out of construction, you would be dinner parties and conferences and crap like that. But you're not. You're construction, right? So you pick the dirty side of it. And they still look down.
I'd rather go down a pub.
They still look down on you. You know what I mean? They still look down on that section of it, and you know that's sad, really, because we're all the same. We're all equal. Yeah, go on, Sam.
No, I was just agreeing.
Yeah.
I was just going to hands up. Yeah, mate. Pub.
Yeah. We look at. Does anybody know what kosh means?
Yeah, it's all the
Substances
like your line sprays, your diesel, or stuff like that.
No, it's actually an acronym for.
Controlled substances hazardous to health.
That's what we're looking for. Yeah. So that's what kosh means. That's what it is. So let's see if I got these lines. So controlled substances hazardous to health, and that's what it is. And substances could be absolutely anything. Right, now when you look at substances, the best way, everything is a poison. Everything is a poison. It's just about the dose, right? So everything will kill us in one way or another. Can you name me one thing that won't?
Water.
Oh no, you tell that to the person who is in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean with no dinghy, bobbing around, right? And he got no way of controlling what's going on or what's happening to him. Yeah? Is that a danger to him, yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah? Tell that to Captain Smith of HMS Titanic. He had a little collision with a big lump of solid water, and it killed a lot of people. Right? It's about the dose. Right? The dose. And the dose is, the problem why they died on the Titanic is because the water temperature was severely cold. Right? It was severely cold and they died. A lot of them died from drowning. Right? So it's about the dose. So all substances, every single substance on this earth is dangerous in some way. If you lay out in the sun continuously, you will get what?
Sunburn.
Sunstroke.
Yeah, sunstroke, sunburn. Yeah, and what will happen to you then after that on the evening? What goes on? Because this is the mad bit. This is the one that most people don't get. Yeah.
Dehydration.
Yeah, you get dehydration. Yeah.
Really cold.
Really cold. Hypothermia. Why would you get really cold? You know, it's mental, isn't it? But it's why would you get really cold after you've had a bloom really something? Because all the heat's going out of your body. Right.
It's like the desert.
Yeah, it's mental. Right, but you think, oh well, I've been late on the world, why would I get? Why would it happen? But it does. So because our body reacts in certain ways. So basically, what's happening is we've burnt the oils off our skin, if you like. We can't retain that heat, and we can possibly die of hypothermia. I've had hypothermia myself, very mild, and it's not particularly nice, and it affects you for quite a long time afterwards. So what you've got to look at is everything is dangerous in its own right. Of course it is. Right. So when we look at COSH substances, everything's dangerous in its own right. It's just about how we deal with it and what we do with it. So one of the important things about COSH is we should have a COSH register. Right? And the COSH register should state what we've got on site and how we're controlling it and what control measures we put in. So when we look at substances, can anyone give me some of the substances? These are really important and you need to make a note, right? Can anybody give me some of the substances? So let's start with you, Black, because you're the first person on my corner.
Spray.
Give me a substance.
Spray.
Huh?
Spray.
Spray?
Yeah.
Yeah, miss. Yeah, miss. I'll give you miss, yeah, for that one. Go on, Ed. Give me another one.
Petrol.
No, that's actually a product, isn't it?
Oil, yeah.
Right. Nodge, give me one.
Paint.
Who?
Paint.
Yeah, again, it's a product. Yeah,
Yeah, but paint you still got to cost though.
White spirit.
Huh?
Liquid. Paste. Like a liquid.
Yeah, a liquid.
Yeah, white spirit. Usually people put in the bottle and they don't mark it.
A liquid is one, but I gave it to Remy and I was answered. You see that? It's like in tandem, don't you? I gave it. Oh, because you can see my whole screen. I didn't realise I was sharing my. Right? I didn't realise, and I was giving you my answers. I was giving you my notes. You dirty rotten lot. You never...
I've got 5 answers if you want them.
Yeah, of course you have.
Audacious smart Frank.
Right, you slippery little toads. Right, you know, none of you even said it to me. Right, but anyway, solids. Right,
Fibers,
right?
fumes,
Listen,
gases.
Make a note. Solids.
Solids, yeah.
Fumes,
Fibers,
gases, mists, vapors, and liquids. You will be asked about them. Right? You will be asked about them. Now, when we talk about respiratory hazards, if you're unlucky enough to have an exam question about vapors, it generally says vapors is a respiratory hazard. What other? Give me another example, or give me 2 other examples, because it's a written one, that you could breathe in as a respiratory hazard. Fibers is not one of them. Right? Fibers is not one of them. Vapors are. mists are, gases are. Smoke is not one of them.
Dust.
Right? So it's them ones there that I've just given you. Solid, dust, fibres, fumes, gas, mist, vapours and liquids. Right? 8 of them. Right? Right? But 5 not an equivalent of a vapour. Right? Because it is actually something that's quite long. Right? So when we look at COSH substances, solids, let's take the first one. We'll go for each one, right? Each one as we start. Solids, right? I generally like to use the example here as a block of wood. A block of hard Brazilian mahogany, right? It's fine as it is. Do nothing with it. It will not harm you in any way. It'll probably give you a nice splinter, but that's about it. Right? If you cut it, the dust from it is carcinogenic. Right? So the dust is carcinogenic. It was a solid, we've changed its form, we've cut it. It becomes a dust in 2 pieces generally. The dust is carcinogenic. When we get asbestos, it comes in solid form, it's in the ground. It's fine. In solid form, it's fine. When we break it in any way, we release fibres. The fibres are then breathed in, right, and do not dislodge from your lungs. They can be carcinogenic again. Right, see, so in a solid form, the iceberg was massively dangerous. It was a liquid in its liquid form. It got exceptionally cold, it froze and become a solid form. So that's when we look at solids, and that's how we come about. Dusts are a solid form like stone, and when we cut them, it becomes silica dust. Again, carcinogenic. There's a massive campaign at the moment about silica dust. You must be aware of it. It's tiny, small particles that you can breathe in, either through the nose canal or through the throat, and they can lodge in your lung. Again, a lot of dust can be carcinogenic again, and can give you, it's just how we get these substances in. Fibres. Stop changing, you don't need to see that anyway. But fibres, they're elongated, they're long. This is how we look at them. I generally like to use this as just a little example. I'd like to give you a little example there. Right, so that's what an asbestos fibre looks like, and it's basically got a little hook in it. And what it does is you breathe it in, and it hooks into your lung. And it's the infection that where it hooks in causes the cancer, the pleural thickening, the asbestosis. Right? That's what they do. When you get glass fibres, they're just long and straight, and they lodge into your skin because you're touching insulation that's made of glass fibre, or you're touching fiberglass. It lodges in your skin and can cause poisons that way. It can poison your body that way. So. Solids, dust, fibres, fumes, tiny particles given off when the substance is heated, residues escape in the form of fumes, a gas state as such. Right, so they're lighter than dust, which can be inhaled. They can affect the respiratory system. Fumes are particularly from the burning process, so like combustion engines, you get fumes from that, from the car. They can be particularly dangerous. You can get, by being around diesel fumes or lead fumes all day long, you can get a poisoning from excessive lead levels in your body as well. Plus the carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and that's taken off from that. Gases, depending on their molecular entity or chemical, it changes from a solid to a liquid to a gas. Right? It's generally done. It's compressed and it's put into a liquid form in bottles. That's why the bottle freezes once warmed, when it's been extracted. It's really, really dangerous. Natural gas has no smell. We add a smell to it so we can detect it when it leaks. Right? It can be extremely flammable. Not all gases are. The one that's really dangerous is oxygen, believe it or not. And you think, well, there's loads of us. But it's an accelerant. Right, so if you've got a small spark there, if you put a lot of oxygen in it, it will be spontaneously combusted. Mists, when we talk about mist, that's fine droplets of water. So I like to use this scenario, right? I like to use this scenario quickly and easily. It's this has actually happened. This is a true fact. Garden hose led out in the driveway in the warm weather of the summer. It's got water in it because it's got one of the spray heads on the end of it. It gets warmed by the sun and warmed and cooled on a daily basis, right? Gets warm during the day, cool during the night, and it allows Legionella, which is present in water all the time. It's present in water all the time. It allows it to breed and form the bacteria. Once it's sprayed and released, maybe washing his car, the fine droplets can be breathed in and cause the Legionella. Anybody know what Legionella symptoms are?
No, I don't know.
It's nearly always the same symptoms what you get if you got COVID.
Cold and flu-like symptoms.
Cold and flu-like symptoms. Right? Because that's how our body reacts. That's what our body does. If we get COVID, we get cold-like flu-like symptoms. If we get Wells disease, we get cold and flu-like symptoms. If we get Legionella, we get cold and flu-like symptoms, and we generally get some sort of yellowing, some jaundice. That's our organs shutting down. Right? When we get jaundice, that means we're getting some sort of organs shutting down on it. But generally, that's how our body reacts to things. So that's where they can be really bad in mist. The other type of mist is obviously when you spray in or something like that, and you get the overspray that comes with it and gets passed out. Vapors. When we talk about vapors, the best way to talk about vapors is if you've got a jerry can full of petrol and you open the can, you'll see this mist come out, this vapor mist come out. That's the flammable bit. They're extremely flammable. Generally, if you dropped a cigarette into or a match into the actual petrol, if it missed the vapors, it can actually get into the petrol without igniting it. It's the vapors at night. It's the flash points from the vapors. When we look at liquids, we're looking at liquids. It could be bleach, it could be hand soap, it could be brick acid, it could be absolutely anything. But they're the type of liquid that we're talking about, and they can go through the skin, through the eyes, ingested, drunk in any way. Right, so that's the kind of thing where we get liquids, because obviously, as I said to you, water is good, but if you drink too much water, you can die. Right? Too little water, and you can die. Carrying on from that, we're talking biological agents. Biological agents are really important. We get quite a lot of biological agents and bacteria on site. Fungi is one of them. Right? We get a lot of fungus growing, especially in our new buildings. Now, these new buildings are probably 70 to 80% water, and it comes from the bottom of the seabed, because it's sand and grit and gravel and things like that. Concrete and things like that, it comes. Sorry, I'm just going to mute you. That's all. When we get it from the bottom of the seabed, we bring up little bacteria and little plant life and things like that comes with it. But when we build with it, it can grow and become a sort of fungus of some sort, like a mushroom in a bacteria damp area, and they release tiny spores that you can breathe in. They have a really detrimental effect to our breathing, right? They can be really bad, right? Lots of the cases at the moment, especially up in London, about housing associations and how bad the damp is in these properties, right? Because once it starts to grow and breed, it's really hard to control. Right,
quick one. I'm supposed to interrupt. I'm the housing association as well. So now we've got, because I'm on near the top floor, and there's a balcony above us, and there's huge. It's been leaking.
Particularly workers subject to it, agricultural workers, anyone working with cattle and things like that. Everyone blames the rat for this. It's not the rat. right? Everyone says there's a rat, right? Wells disease or leptospirosis is a disease caused by bacteria. Cattle can get it, right? Badgers can get it, squirrels can get it, dogs can get it, cats can get it. It's why the rat gets the bad press for it is because he has no bladder. So as he runs, he wheezes, right? He has no containment to keep that wee in. If he's been infected with Wells disease, leptospirosis, he's running along, he will wee. I generally like to use the example is Oz is going to work, he reaches in his pocket to pull out a hanky and £2 comes out and drops on the floor. Right behind him is Remy, 5 minutes down the road, and as he's coming in the way, he says, oh, that's £2. But in the meantime, the rat has run across that coin and weed as he run, right? Remy picks it up, says, oh, £2, look at that. Pops it in his pocket, grabs his cigarettes, lights his cigarette, and he's now transmitted it to himself. Right? So don't pick £2 up. It's wait for me to come and I'll collect it for you. Because I'll pick it up with gloves. But you can see how easy it's transmitted, right? And then viruses, the last one there, and we get certain types of viruses, HIV, hepatitis B, HIV. The people susceptible to them are obviously ground workers because they're working with sewers. They generally would have some sort of injection, inoculation, because they reckon we are going to eliminate Hep C in a minute, possibly, right, with the vaccination program that's going on. Right, main classification of, we'll now go back to the slides for a second, right? Classifications, we're talking about COSH. So we're looking at here, this is from your book again, we're looking at main classifications. You might get a question on symbols, and you just need to look at them. Obviously, the first one is corrosive. The second one is harmful or irritant. Right. The third one, dangerous to the environment and fish on it. Fourth one, highly or extremely flammable. It's quite common. Compressed gas, you generally see them on the bottle, they're generally coloured, right? So it's easy, it's not nice compressed gas, although it doesn't look like the bottle very much. The serious long-term health hazard, that's generally a nice question that I like to ask. Acute toxicity and oxidation. And you will see there's three of them in your XA6 book that you want an answer to as well. Right, so you say, when you get these symbols, they generally got something else on them. They're generally attached with a warning statement. The warning statement on the hazardous substance could be cause serious eye damage or toxic if it was swallowed, or it could have a precautionary statement like wear eye protection or avoid release into the environment. Again, you should be working now. We should be in section 2. We should be in book B, if you like. We should be in book B when we're on COSH. So you should be working. There's people there who's hopefully going through their XA6 as I'm talking, because these are a lot of the answers. A lot of the answers. Right? And you need to have that in by 12 o'clock next Sunday. Am I sharing on screen again to you?
My Sunday is Saturday.
And they're snipping.
Next Saturday. I'm getting bored of sharing it on screen. I don't know why I keeps doing it. I should be only sharing it.
I like it.
Yeah, I know. It gives you my notes. I don't want to give you the notes, right? Because it's otherwise there's no point in what I just show. Just send you the bar and I can just sit here and go to sleep for it's good, right? Right, but it gives you my notes. So main routes there. Did anybody know the routes of entry into the body?
Inhalation.
Great.
Ingestion.
Right.
And the mouth, like the example of the cigarette.
Yeah, when you eat something.
That's ingestion. Eating, drinking, or smoking. That's ingestion.
Skin.
Skin, yeah. Who said skin?
Yeah. Especially broken skin.
Yeah, that's absorption. Yeah, absorption you're looking for.
Injection, absorption.
Injection. Well done, Oz, because you're looking at your
inhalation.
Because you're looking at your XA6 because you've already got these answers, aren't you? Right. So you say and right. So when we're looking at inhalation, that's breathing in from the nose or mouth, right? And it can also be, it can go in through your ear as well. Right, it can go in through your ear and eyes. Right, but you don't generally breathe it in. So inhalation is breathing in through the nose or mouth. Ingestion is normally by eating or drinking. Right, so it's going in that way, or smoking. As I say, with the, well, I explained the Wales disease, not washing in your hands. Lead, the only way that gets in your body is by working with lead and not washing your hands afterwards, right? Or from the fumes from hot cutting and things like that. Yeah. Absorption, that's chemicals on the skin. I like to use the old one of the mechanic. He used to have overalls and he would wipe his hands with an oily rag at the end of it, and he would put that in his back pocket. That gave him cancer of the hip from the mineral oils in his back pocket, constantly on his skin. He's absorbing it in. Hence why you now go to any mechanical fitter or workshop and they now use little neoprene or the other type of gloves. Right? They tend to use them because of the mineral oils and the damage it does to their skin. Ground workers tend to use gloves a lot now, where they never used to. Bricklayers tend to use gloves now, especially the one yellow marigold. They tend to use them quite a lot now to try and protect their skin. In the site, we should be supplying barrier creams as well. Right, injection, which is directly into the bloodstream, that's either by needle stick, again, that could be absolutely anyone, but the most susceptible for that, the ground workers, of course, they are because they're dealing with ground. The needle stick or insect or animal bite. We've got quite a few species now coming to our country that are from abroad, and they're released and let out into the world, and they start to breed and things like that. The false widow spider it can give you a really nasty bite, and looking at potentially losing a limb or blood poisoning from it. The Lyme's disease is spread by the tick. It's a small little insect that bites into the skin and spits poison into your system. Right? It can cause disabling sort of symptoms, and you're not aware of them symptoms because they look like 50 other symptoms that you could possibly have. It could be absolutely anything from a cold, flu, bodily function shutting down because you've got cold, flu-like symptoms, and you're going yellow because your organs are shutting down and they can't see what it is. Sepsis is another one. Right? Cuts easily from cuts on skin, breaks in skin. Right. Defenses of the body, what our body does to sort of protect us. We've got certain things. We've got hair up our nose that acts as a filter and trap it. We've got hair in our ears that acts as a filter and trap it. We've got eyelashes that act as a filter and try and trap things going in. Right? These protect us in some sort of way. We cough or we sneeze. When we cough, it gets caught in the mucus trap. We cough it back up and we spit it out. That sign on the site, no spitting. Right? Have I showed you that, the site induction one, the video? Where it says no spitting? I think I did, and I knew it. Yeah, no spitting. But it's because the mucus traps it and we cough it back out. Right? It's what our body does. It's how it protects us. Right? When we get things on the skin, we're looking at occupational dermatitis. It's always got the occupational in front of it. I suffer from dermatitis, but it's not occupational. I don't get it from my mouse or my computer screen. Right? If you're ground workers, you're probably going to get it. If you're mechanics, you're going to get it. You know, people who work with their hands get occupational dermatitis quite a lot. Occupational asthma is from the stuff we breathe in. We get that from the stuff we breathe in and the environments we work in. So these are all occupational diseases, all reportable under RIDOR, as we discussed. Factors to consider in assessing health risks is it's about the quantity of the substance and the concentration, the work process, how we're going to do it, way we're going to do it, whether we're going to use a different method, whether we're going to use a brush instead of spraying, the exposure limit, if you've got any EH40, it is there, right? These give us some sort of limits that we're allowed to be exposed to, the duration and the frequency of the exposure. And obviously, if you've got any pregnant women or potentially trying to conceive, again, it can be dangerous for them, very dangerous. Where will we get the information from? We get it from material safety data sheets or safety data sheets or places like EH40, or we can get it from product labels, we can get it from safety reps, there's an EU list of indicative limit values, there's another threshold limit values from the US, there's product labels, manufacturer safety data sheets, suppliers or sales reps, they give you information on it. Builders merchants, they give you information on it. They're really massively important. So safety data sheets is one of the answers in your XA6. You definitely need that one. The other one's possibly the cost register. These are give us information on. Control measures, good practice is obviously design and operate processes and activities to minimise release and emission. Take into account all routes of entry and exposure. Control exposure by other measures that are proportionate to the health risk. Choose the most effective and reliable control options that's available. PPE, last resort, but sometimes we need it. If we're dealing with acids and things like that, we need big gloves, we need big wellies. If we're dealing with asbestos, we need good suits, disposable suits, gloves, RPE, we need all that. We need to control it in the right sort of way. Control measures, obviously, from the risk assessment. Prevention and control measures, so eliminate, so the E, substitute the less hazardous. Engineering controls, isolate the process, enclose the process, ventilate, including LEV. Does anybody know what LEV is? Anybody know what LEV is? Why they teach it in the Citb, I don't know, right? But they do, and we do use it, right? We do use it, but it's very seldom. And LEV is local exhaust ventilation. And the easiest way of explaining that is your cooker hood, right? The cooker hood is the local, because it's directly above the cooker, and it's an exhaust to the outside, and it's ventilation. So it takes off the poisonous fumes or the smell, the odours and the steam, and pushes it to outside. That's what an LEV is. But we do use them in other times. It's like a big box with a Hoover head on it. And when they're welding, they bring them around and they put them over the welder, and then basically it sucks away all the poisonous gas. Depending on what kind of project you're on, if you're doing a lot of demolition and hot cutting, you'll be using them to take the poisonous gas away while you're doing the works. We're all in different industries. We do it in different ways. So how else can we do it? We can change the work methods, brush instead of spray, reduce the quantity, reduce the exposure time, housekeeping, welfare, hygiene, occupational health surveillance, instruction, information and training. Back to the SCAPE, remember? There's other ways of dealing with it as well. Dilute ventilation, that's open windows both sides, so ventilating comes through, takes it away. RPE and PPE. I'm going to finish on that at the moment because I'm going to move off into asbestos after lunch. So we're going to take half hour's lunch now and we're going to asbestos after lunch. Right? Half hour lunch now.
Back at 2 o'clock.
But 10 to 2 still used in a lot of the countries. Right? Comes in very different forms and very different formats. Can anyone tell me what that one is? No? Crystal tile. Can anyone tell me what crystal tile is?
From tiles.
Huh?
From tiles, ceramic tiles.
No, the crystal tile it's actually got a colour.
Blue.
You'd say that, wouldn't you? Right. But the blue one is the crocodile. Right? So the blue one is that one. You can see my mouse moving around. That one there. You can actually see he's blue, can't you? Right?
But are they going to ask this in the test then? To
No. I'm just trying to make you aware. I'm trying to show you something, right, and make you aware of it, right? So, tell me which one is the white asbestos there. So you know, like the three main colours. The three main colours are white, brown, and blue. Tell me which one's white.
Thermolite.
Actinolite.
Crystal is the white.
Oh.
Does it look white? No.
Yeah.
Amosite, right, is brown. Right? It looks brown, doesn't it? It does look brown. You've got to give them that. And the crocodile is the blue. Right? So we can't really identify these things very well. Right? Asbestos is a load of fibres. It's mixed into it. It's mixed into lots of other things that we do. Right? I can only stress this enough. I'm going to show you a thing called Simon's story. Right, let me just show you it because it's important. It breaks me up my teaching. It gives me a chance to get away from it. No, I don't mean that. Simon's story. Share screen. Yeah.
I was an electrical engineer. I was an electrical apprentice before that. I ran my own contracting business.
He was always very busy. In fact, as a family, really, we saw very little of him. He worked 7 days a week sometimes, often doing paperwork, and sometimes it was quite stressful.
It was sort of about 40 years after, 35 I'd say, after my apprenticeship, I started to get pains at the bottom of my chest here. It spread then to my back and up my back and all around the front part of my chest here near your heart.
There was one particular day I came home and he was actually on his hands and knees and you couldn't hide the pain. And that was when he was taken into hospital, and it was the paramedic who actually said, "Have you worked with asbestos?"
Not until he told me on that day I'd never heard of the disease. They sat us down in a chair and he more or less said to me, "You're going to die."
Three years ago, Simon Clark was diagnosed with mesothelioma. It's a cancer of the lining of the lung, caused when he breathed in asbestos fibres early in his career.
We weren't given any protective clothing, no masks, nothing at all. No training, we had no knowledge of it. We had to go and crawl through all the loft spaces, where there was all the insulation, which sometimes was asbestos that had been pumped in. We had to go down all the service ducts that had asbestos-lagged pipes in them. We had to chop out walls, make holes in walls. Again, quite often they were lined with asbestos.
It's almost impossible to estimate just how much asbestos there is out there. Just about any building constructed before the year 2000, you could probably assume that it's got asbestos in it somewhere. The places where you probably find asbestos in an average building is in corrugated roofing, in ceiling tiles, lino. You could have asbestos lagging around pipes. Often you can find it above ceiling voids. Asbestos you'll find in many different places, including Artex that you find in many domestic homes.
There are around 5,000 deaths from asbestos-related diseases every year. That's compared to an average of 1,700 deaths on the UK's roads. That means asbestos-related diseases are claiming the lives of 94 people a week, or 14 people every day.
All trades and professions that work in a building that's being maintained or refurbished could be at risk of breathing in asbestos fibres, because the fibres are invisible to the naked eye, they're in the air.
Just one exposure to asbestos-containing material can cause cancer and terminal diseases, like Simon's mesothelioma. His diagnosis was immediately life-changing.
It was only a few days after they diagnosed me, they had me in the operating theatre. I had a 6-hour operation. I had two hours in recovery. It's one of the biggest operations they can do. It's like open heart surgery. What they do is they cut you open, remove your lung, they then remove the lining of your lung, and then they scrape all the tumour off your lung. Because what happens with mesothelioma, it grows around the lung. So it's in between the lining of the lung and the lung. So that's why it's difficult to diagnose, because it's only it's not like in a mass. It's all the way around your lung. They then removed part of my diaphragm. They removed part of the lining of my heart, and also removed the tumour off the side of my esophagus.
The most scariest thing, I think, was the fear of losing him. The thought of being alone and the children not having their dad.
I can't even bend down and put my socks on very well without getting out of breath even now. That's because I've got no diaphragm. So when I bend down, I can't breathe. Truth, I'll tell you, not being able to breathe is horrible. It's horrible. I can't walk far. I can't, well, obviously can't lift heavy things. I take the dog out every day. That's the only exercise I get, really. Is taking the dog out. I'll walk her probably 2 miles maximum, but that will take me 2 hours. So you can see how slow I'm having to walk and having to stop and gather my breath again. And I miss all my golf, you know, cycling, me and the wife used to do when we went on in our caravanning. So I can't do any of that anymore. No cycling, no golf, no fooling around with your friends, you know. You lose all that.
Simon's focus is now on raising awareness of the dangers of asbestos.
There is still a gung-ho attitude from workers as well that don't think it's going to happen to them, on the proof that it can happen to you, and it does happen, and it's happening to 5,000 of their colleagues every year.
Currently in the UK, there are 3 main levels of asbestos-related information, instruction and training. Asbestos awareness, known as Category 1, is for persons liable to disturb asbestos-containing materials, ACMs, while carrying out their normal everyday work. This is likely to affect people across a range of professions, including but not limited to those listed below. Non-licensed work with asbestos, including notifiable non-licensed work, is known as Category 2 training and applies to all those whose work will require them to disturb ACMs, such as drilling holes in asbestos materials, including for sampling and analysis purposes, or removing asbestos-containing floor tiles. Finally, Category 3 training is for licensable asbestos work.
For the average contractor and professional person employing people in the construction industry, to make sure that their staff, their workers are safe, there needs to be an awareness of asbestos. And depending on the type of activity they're carrying out, that may be properly done by giving asbestos awareness training. This doesn't equip them to remove it or to handle it, but at least to be aware of where they're likely to find it and what it looks like should they come to expose it. Once the risk has been identified, it can be transferred through contract to specialist contractors to make sure that the asbestos is then removed. But they would then be coming in and doing that in a professional way, having then been paid for their services. But the primary responsibility is that of the owner and operator of the building.
So how should ACMs be managed once they've been identified? ACMs found to be in good condition should be left in position, protected and managed if they're not in vulnerable locations. ACMs in a poor condition that cannot safely and easily be repaired, or those that are positioned in vulnerable locations which could easily be disturbed through work such as demolition or major refurbishment, should be removed. For now, Simon's mesothelioma is under control, but there is no cure for this disease.
I still get sad and I still get upset on some days, and I'm in pain all the time. Pain doesn't go away. I'm on medication to painkillers every day, but you get used to that, and I can just about cope with that. But it's the upsetting things. It's the little things like, am I going to see my daughters go down the aisle? Am I going to be able to take one of my daughters down the aisle? God, that used to upset me. It still does, very much. Because one thing as a dad, what you want to do is be able to take your daughters down the aisle.
feel sad about the future, really. I don't think about the future very much because we take each day as it comes, we take each month as it comes, and we just hope that Simon can live as long as he can, as healthily as he can. That's what we want. We want him to live healthily as he possibly can for as long as he can.
Can you say?
Sad.
It's scary.
You could say, I'm gonna chuck something at you. I'm gonna chuck it at you because I want to be cruel when I chuck it at you. Is basically his missus said, all right, she'll probably get 90 grand. It did promote her action a couple of years. So how heartless and how callous is that? 90 grand. What's 90 grand to him? He's an electrical engineer. Year's salary?
Nothing.
Cool. Right, and they keep opening and shutting it. They opened that once. It's been open for a while, and then they stopped all payments. They said, actually, there'll be no more claims after this date. Right, and then they've reopened it again. Right, that's fucking 90 grand. You know what I mean? And that's not even the. That's one of the top payments. That's one of the top payments, and this is why I said to you I wanted to shock you a little bit because. It could be, as I say, it's got a 40-year latency period. You know Grenville? That was in IOSH's magazine yesterday. I can't remember the numbers now. I will look in a second. Right. I think it was somewhere around 90%. 90% of the firefighters are now testing positive for asbestos-related diseases from Grenfell Tower. That's only the firefighters. What about all the members of the public? Grenfell, how long ago was Grenfell? Does anyone know?
About 5 years ago?
Yeah. No. But they're testing positive now for asbestos-related diseases from Grenfell. Horrendous, what happened there, what happened to the block, what happened to the people in it. Absolute tragedy. But the firefighters, I would have suspected most of them had breathing apparatus on. The problem being with that is obviously it's released to the atmosphere, it's come onto them, and then they've taken that off. They get in their cab, when they finish, they take their hat off, they take their BA off, right? They take their BA off, pop it in the back, and they get in the cab and they sit on them seats. Now, when they jump in that cab, you stand on a sunny day, you jump in the car and you sit down, and you can't see in your van or whatever it is from the dust that flies up, right? Because them fibres latch in and you breathe them in later on. But they're not a respiratory hazard as such because it's a solid, if you like. So just to basically define it in some sort of way. But yeah. And really shocking about the firefighters. I just want to see this one. 2 seconds. I just want to.
What date was asbestos banned? Like, what buildings would you?
2000. Before 2000, all hazards. After 2000, no asbestos.
We're still using it. You know what I mean? It's still used. It's still used all around the country in certain conditions and everything else. All right. Right. So I'm going to share this one with you. This is it's only a short film. I'm going to share it with you. It just helps to get the message across because it is so dangerous. Right? It is so dangerous. Right, 2 seconds. I just got to unmute it, get it going, share it with you.
suppose what I miss the most is being outside, in the fresh air. And my mates, I miss them a lot. Of course, it's a lot more complicated now. A lot more red tape to climb through. Not sure they'd want a complaining old bugger like myself hanging around. Trouble is, nobody wants to take responsibility for themselves these days. No one's willing to take a risk to get the job done. I mean, if you're careful, what's the problem? If only we knew then what we know now. Asbestos is dangerous stuff. When it breaks up, the tiny fibres go into the air and you can breathe them in. They build up on your lungs over time. And then you've had it. You've got asbestosis. Or even cancer to look forward to. Everything in small doses, as my old dad used to say. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Turns out, he was wrong.
It's I just looked it up. It's in the Irish magazine yesterday. At least a dozen firefighters have tested positive for cancer related. So
But the firefighters, they don't use any mask. I think
yeah. So as I say to you, the problem being, and it was all over the news yesterday, day before, is what happens with a firefighter as such. He's got it on him. He's got it on his suit. Now what they do is they decontaminate when they come back from a shout, if you like, from Brentford. They go back, they take their BAs out and they put them on the floor and they wash all that down, right, with a mask and gloves on. Right. Now the problem being is you can't get rid of asbestos. It lasts forever. It's an internal thing. Right, but what you can do is move it to somewhere else, if you like. So what they're doing is they take their BA off, their breathing apparatus, and they chuck it in the back. Right, they chuck it in the back, and they go and sit in their cab, and they take their hat off and their gloves, and they sit in their cab. Right, and a lot of them kick their boots off. Right, they kick the boots off, and they sit in the cab, and they go back to the station. And they get out of the, because they're in waterproof gear as well. They kick all that off, and then they get out of the tender, and they start decontaminating. All that fiberglass has been sat in their seat, isn't it? All that fiberglass is in the cab on the floor. Right? All that asbestos is in the bottom there. All the dust and the fumes and any other chemicals and hazards is at the bottom there. It's all in their cab. They get into their BA areas, they clean them out, they take the BAs out, clean it out. That compartment where they store their BAs is now contaminated as well. So they try and clear it out. You can never ever get rid of this stuff. This is why they treat asbestos with, they take them gloves off and they go in the bag. They take the suit off, it goes in the bag. They have shoes on or boots on with no laces so they can wash them down. And the last thing they take off is the mask. Right, it all goes in the bag. Right, it's really serious stuff. The course I was teaching yesterday, or the day before, the Sparky there had just cut 120 downloads in some house, and the ceilings contained asbestos. And he's got a 30 to 40 year wait to see if he's got anything wrong. Like, you are going to die. He's 30 years old. Right, you're going to die in 30 to 40 years. He's not going to make it past 70. Why? Because he's just signed a death warrant, and it could be as little as 10 years. Is how bad asbestos is. This is why I showed you 2 films about it. It's quite important. It's when I say it's important, does anyone remember the figure that I said for suicides?
700.
Yes, 720. So that's 14 people a week. Yeah, 14 people a week. We lose 100 people a week to asbestos. 100 people a week.
Oh, that's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. And I don't know. If you just, if you look at you guys, James, I don't know about Kenya, isn't it? Is it Kenya?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about Kenya. Probably use shitloads of it. Probably do. I don't know. I don't know much about it.
Both my brothers work in construction, so I don't know whether they are as aware. There's not much training, so.
Yeah. Well, as I just say to you, they probably use lots of it. Lots of you come from Europe. Europe uses shitloads of it. Shitloads.
Yeah, every roof was.
Yeah, every roof on the garages and
in its whole state. So where'd you come from, Ed?
Romania.
Romania. What about you, Remy?
Lithuania.
Lithuania.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, the garages had roofs, asbestos roofs, and we're
got
running on them and even breaking them.
Yeah.
Without even knowing.
I've gone through them myself, running and jumping onto the roof, and you go through.
Putting them in the fire. They blow up nicely.
Yeah, but when you got to look at is what we've done with it and how it's been around. There is actually a town in America that is called Asbestos. They're trying to change their name. Why? Because they don't get many visitors, and it's called Asbestos because it's actually where they mine the stuff. Right, so it's bad stuff. It's always been bad stuff. We've known about it since Roman times. So we're aware of it. Where are we like to find it? We just said about the roof panels, right? Floor tiles. That's a big one, really big one. Floor tiles. When you go to school or college, you will always find them hardware and floor tiles, the brown with three different shades of brown in it, is asbestos. Low grade asbestos, but it is. Water tanks. Why would you make a tank out of asbestos? Can't hear you, Claude. Can't hear you, Claude.
It's to keep him isolated. I think it's to keep him warm or something like this.
Yeah, cool. Insulator.
Yeah.
Keep it cool. Yeah. But why would you make that? You know what I mean?
Because it's cheap. It was cheap.
Why would you put water through a lead pipe? Yeah. Why do we do the things we do? Because we do. Alright, so we lose the highest trade we're losing to asbestos related diseases is electricians. Alright, we have got an electrician. Frank, you're an electrician, yeah. So so you have to be aware of it. Where can we find it? We can find it in anything cement based. It was mixed with it. One of the ones that I never knew of, and I mean I never knew of, was window pane. Why would you put it in window pane? I presume to make it strong. About shingles. Do you remember as a kid going around Granny's house? Do you remember going around Granny's house and she had this fireplace and on it she had like artificial logs and you press the button on the side and it used to light up. It'd be like a fuel reflect, glittery, it would be like a bulb in there with a little fan unit so it looked like flames and fire. Do you remember them or not? They were massively common in England and the UK, massively common. Fiberglass.
What about the fiberglass insulation?
Sorry, fiberglass. Sorry, asbestos. That's 3 times I've called it fiberglass. They were asbestos. Asbestos logs. Right? Asbestos logs. That's because I've mentioned fiberglass earlier, and it's sort of words you can't get rid of out your head. I'm talking about asbestos. I'm not talking about fiberglass.
Yeah, you said fiberglass, and I was wondering about the insulation.
Yeah, so if I'm throwing you, it's because it's in my head and I can't get it out of my head, so I keep wanting to say it. So I don't want to say it again. Okay. Asbestos, right? We're talking about asbestos. So if I mention fiberglass again, say, you mean asbestos, right, dopey? Okay. And then I'll understand you. But anyway, it's used absolutely everywhere. Ceiling coatings, on them decorative fuel effect fires, pipe laggings, water tanks, boilers. Use it a lot in boilers, boiler cupboards, fireproofing, balconies, gutters, soffits, you name it. We've just about used it everywhere. Acoustic tiles. Just trying to think what else it could be in. In some sort of insulation boards, outlets, switches. It's actually in electrical components. We use it in there. Gypsum board. Who's the dry liner? Gypsum board filling.
Yeah, I was dry liner.
There you go, Remy. Right. So it's in your stuff as well, mate. Right. And that's really bad. You know when they've been tacking how much of it is lying around. Right, how much of it is lying around. And that asbestos is added to give it some sort of strength, to give it some sort of fibre, right? To give it some structural integrity, if you like. It's bad stuff. So, as people, we would stop using it, wouldn't we? No. America is now exporting it again. Right, China, India use it by the bucket load and export it all the way around the world.
Canada as well, I've heard.
Yeah, Canada as well. Right, they all export it. Right, anything Eastern Europe use loads of it. Anything in the Asian continent uses lots of it, right, and export it. Anything in the Indian continent uses lots of it and exports it. So you don't know when you buy something from there whether it contains it or not. You've got to be really careful, really massively careful, right? So you can't, as I said to you, I showed you, you can't differentiate what it is, where it comes from. So when I say we've known about it since pre-1900s, right? So we've known the dangers of it. We've been using it since Roman times. Romans used to use it as cloths, right? They used to weave it into cloths. They used to wipe the tables down and throw it on the fireplace. It would clean the cloth, and then they could take it off and use it again tomorrow. Right? So as reasonable people, we wouldn't do anything dangerous with it, would we? Anybody know what that is?
Yeah.
Asbestos snowflakes.
Not you, Oz. Right?
Here we see it asbestos, white asbestos with snowflakes.
Well, that one's.
Yes.
By the boxel.
Not anymore now, do we?
No. We don't use it anymore as artificial snow, but in all the films that you've been watching, when you see the snow all around them,
it's asbestos.
That's asbestos. Alright. Why would we do that? We're mental, haven't we? We've got to be mentally impaired in some way or another, haven't we? To be doing that. Surely these actors are worth millions and millions of pounds. One of the ones that stopped it was, have you ever heard of the film called It's a Wonderful Life?
Yes.
Yeah, It's a Wonderful Life. Always on at Christmas time, right? And it's snow everywhere, and it's really bad, and it's really bad snow all over the place. That was one of the films that pioneered the stopping of the use of asbestos. So, you know, that one there is The Wizard of Oz, Julie Garland, the Scarecrow who's no more. The Lion's already died, he's at the back. But you know, and the Tin Man didn't even make it. So it was good. It was and It's pure, it's brilliant white, and it's fire resistant. It looks like real snow. The cleanest, the whitest, the best, pure white, fireproof asbestos snowflakes.
This is fireproof.
Yeah, you want to see what we've done with uranium. Alright, so don't even start me on that. What we've done with uranium and what countries have done with uranium. Put it in prophylactics. You know what prophylactic is?
No.
It's like a Wellington boot you used before. Issues with your wife or alright? We used to put it in there, yeah. So putting it a nice way, it's a Durex if you like. Alright, the Durex is a brand and we used to use uranium in that. We used to use it in toothpaste.
Well, what's the purpose of that to use it?
Because it would sell. Because we used to use it in toothpaste to make your teeth ultra bright and white. Would you really?
Probably they were shining at night time.
His teeth or something else?
Huh? You are, yeah. Why would you put it in a condom? Why would you put it in a condom? Why would you do it? I don't understand.
2 words.
Right?
Lightsaber battle.
You are, sorry?
Let it glow.
Glowing nighttime.
You know, why would you put it in a condom? It's absolutely mental, isn't it?
You didn't ask it, Frank. You didn't ask that question 20 years ago, did you? You just used it.
No, I'm just trying to say, you know, this wasn't that long ago. This was like...
Because us men wanted to really have a reason to say you picked the sun size out of your...
Probably 1920s and things like that, you know what I mean? And it's not that long ago. We're mental, absolutely mental.
The dangers of asbestos is known, and they would still do such things.
Don't think they won't do it, mate. Don't think they won't do it. All right? Don't think they won't do it. It's believe me, they are all mental. But it's
in general, still in UK there is asbestos everywhere. It's just like everything less than 1%. So in 100 grams you will get 1 gram of asbestos anyway. So it still exists. It's not like it's removed totally from the production in UK.
Yeah, but when we look at asbestos, we need to control that. And that's what you were just talking about, percentages, and start controlling it, using it in safe quantities. So, if you went to a building and there was asbestos present, what would you expect to be seen? What would you expect to see or be given?
Asbestos survey report?
The register, yeah? Yeah, you'd expect the register, the asbestos register. You'd expect to see all them lovely little ACM stickers stuck all over the place, yeah? As an ACM is asbestos containing material. You'd expect them to be stuck all over the place, and you would expect to be given, as a contractor in any way, given a report saying exactly where asbestos was present in the building. Any building built before the year 2000 is likely to contain asbestos. After 2000, it was banned. That don't mean it wasn't used, right? See, so then we got two other types of things we'll be looking at. So we're looking at a management survey. And can anybody tell me the second one?
Is it a refurb and demo survey?
It is, yeah, 100%. Refurbishment and demolition survey. So the two types of surveys, a management survey, you can conduct a management survey, I can conduct a management survey. Like, nobody is harmed by continuing presence of ACM in the premises or equipment. Basically, you can walk up to it and say, that looks like asbestos to me. I'm going to stick a little sticker on it and say, I think asbestos is present where it is. And you can record it. That's the survey, right? Generally, you are competent to do that. Generally, you would call in an outside contractor who actually knows the difference between asbestos and potatoes, you know what I mean? Because you can look at a potato and go, oh, there's no asbestos. And as I say, you're not necessarily aware where it is. Because as I say, if you go back to the previous slide, it could be in window pane. It could be in that fuel effect fire. It could be in...
That's create the problem that you will never find asbestos if it's everywhere, kind of. So you're starting to work.
Yes, it is, right? It is, but then this is why you're calling professionals to do the survey for you. So they will walk around, stick little stickers on it, right? And you will get some sort of register for it. When you're looking at a larger survey, a management survey, the purpose of it is to manage the ACN in normal occupation of the premises. So normal occupation is just going about your daily business. The duty holder can make a management survey, but he's not allowed to disturb it in any way. When you get refurbishment and demolition survey, it's slightly different. They will take small samples and they will identify the type, quantity, right, the location. Right, they're gonna bring certain things into it. Right, if it asks you this, right, if it says, if the question, right, this one throws you. So if you get an examination question on this and it says asbestos has been identified, give me two of the things in a premises. It's been identified in the premises. Give me two other things that would be recorded as well as. Do not put location, because it's already been identified in the question. So don't put location, but generally you'll be putting location. If you're going to put location as a word, write two more, and type and quantity are good ones. Right, type and quantity. Right, so that's like, say, the type of asbestos and the quantity of it. Yeah. So when we do refurbishment demolition survey, does anybody know how they actually identify asbestos? So you've got a couple of people who've done this asbestos course. Anyone know how they identify it?
Yeah, they get specialists to come in.
Yeah.
And they will set up the perimeters and stuff like that, and then do tests on it. Then they set up air monitors, and in a
I'm asking you how you identify. The only way you can actually physically identify. They look at it under a microscope and they count the fibres. Right, that's how they identify. Basically.
Really?
Yeah.
We had one on asbestos. He came, he broke there was kind of something like a plasterboard stuff shit. He just broke it. No, this is not asbestos. That's it. It's very good. Goes easy to work.
Yeah, but he might as well go. Like, no, there's no electricity there.
Yeah, kind of this type.
He just like lick it with his tongue, and he? No, it's not.
Yeah, so he said, no, that's not asbestos.
Yeah?
That's
No.
fiber.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, well, you say, here then, mate, eat it.
Look, we've had
shit.
while we're doing excavation, there was asbestos in the ground, there was diesel in the ground, blah blah blah. It's contaminated.
Yeah.
It would cost the company $2,500 per load to take it away.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? When a normal load's about £300. So what they do, they just take it to another job, they bury it over there, and they pack on with it. They don't. That's what they do. All of the big companies do it. They just they go to another job, dig a big excavation, dump it over there, and then obviously then you got your like 1 meter later, then obviously they'll put the type 1 and stuff above it. But that's what they do. Who's gonna pay $3,000? I think they estimated it was about $500,000 to get rid of all the asbestos on the site I was working at. And that was a brick bit site, it was a live factory. Do you know what I mean? So,
what Noj is just describing there, so dump it in another pit basically, and then it's gonna get covered up later on.
it costs too much to get rid of it. I'm telling you.
Is that safe? My question then, following on that, is that safe? Is that a safe way to get rid of it?
It's not about safe, it's about money.
I know, but in the end it gets covered up with something that's not asbestos. So the person that will work in next to where they're dumping it will actually not come into contact with the asbestos.
At the moment, there was a report on the last night's news on the south coast of England. The shoreline is starting to wash away, right? Because a lot of it is nature reserves as well. There's a lot of nature reserves down there. We've got a couple of big refineries as well. But the report was we're losing this. So you give notice. It takes 28 days before you're allowed to move. Right. I'm just looking through your exam questions to make sure if you've got any asbestos questions that I've covered. All right, so I need to just make sure of that. I'm just reading as I go through as I'm talking.
Read it loud, Frank.
No, that's how we record noise, or record a value for noise. So how do we define noise?
By your ears.
Yeah, right. You're missing the point, right? So
how's that which affects you on time? I mean, it's not.
Yeah, how we define noise, right? Is noises. When we say noise, this is how we. Yeah, that's right. So when we define noise, we define it as any unwanted sound. Now, I'm trying to pick it right. I will probably listen to stuff from the 80s and 90s because that's my kind of musical area, and I like to bang it out quite loud, right? You would walk in and go, "What the is he playing?" Right? James will probably listen to classical music because he's that sort. He sort of gives me a classical music sort of guy. He'll probably listen to classical music.
No, I'm just pop music in those days, and
nice and loud. You know what I mean? And you'll walk in and say, "James, what the hell you got on?" You know what I mean? Me would probably be a bit more Def Leppard. You know what I mean? He's in a heavy rock and crap like that. You know what I mean? And he's playing that really loud, and you're gonna walk in and go, "What have you got on, Remy?" You know what I mean? So you say, what is one person's noise mix to other people is absolute poison. So how we define noise is any unwanted sound. Any unwanted sound. So to most people, birds tweeting that, it would be a nice sound. To some people, it would drive them absolutely insane. Why? Because it's what they don't want to hear. To some, a hum of a machine, or it can be quite soothing. To others, it will be quite sad. Right? So noise, control of noise is any audible sound. They define it. The control of noise work regulations define it as any audible sound. IOSH is any unwanted sound, and the International Labour Organisation is all sound which can result in hearing impairment or be harmful to the health of others or dangerous. What a load of rubbish that is. So we tend to define it as any unwanted sound. That's the easiest way of doing it, or any audible sound. Because as I say, to some what is good, to others is bad. So when we look at sound, it comes in. I'm going to do this in the layman's terms because this can get really complicated and you won't like it very much. Right? Sound comes in, follow my mouse. Comes in, goes down there, goes up and down, hits that. That's the eardrum. Right? This eardrum resonates, vibrates, flexes, and it moves these three bones in your body. Now, they are the three smallest bones in your body, and they are the malleus, the incus, and stapes. And they send a sound wave to the cochlea. I'm going to show you a video. This will explain it in a lot better terms than I ever could. Right? And the reason I do it is because it's nice and easy and it helps me mix up with sound. Will actually stop or send most of you to sleep. So, I'll give you that. Share. That one. Share. Right, ready?
Many of us take for granted a very extraordinary organ, our ears. To understand the ear, we need to understand what sound is. The speakers you are listening to right now are vibrating, flexing in and out, causing a wave of pressure through the air. The frequency of these waves, or the speed at which the sound creating surface moves back and forth, affects the pitch of the sound. The level of air pressure in each wave is directly related to how loud the sound is. The outer part of our ear catches these waves. It faces forward and has a specially designed structure of curves, helping us to determine the direction of the sound and also emphasize the frequencies used in human speech. Now that the sound waves are caught, they travel through the ear canal and strike against our eardrum, a thin membrane about 10 millimeters wide. Now that we receive the sound, the middle ear transfers this energy. The smallest bones in your body, the malleus, incus, and stapes, start in motion. The malleus is attached to the eardrum, and as the sound travels along, the force is amplified by leverage until it arrives at the stapes, which acts like a reversed piston, creating waves in the fluid of the inner ear. The most significant increase in pressure is caused by pneumatic amplification. The face of the stapes has a surface area of about 3.2 square millimeters, while the eardrum has a surface area of 55 square millimeters. Using this, along with leverage through the malleus and incus, the final pressure is 22 times greater than when the sound first arrived. Now we come to the most complicated part of the hearing, the cochlea. In reality, it is coiled up, but it is easier to understand straightened out. There are actually 3 chambers inside, but let's take a look at the central part. The stapes is causing pressure waves to travel through the structure. Along the inside wall is about 20 to 30,000 reed-like fibers. As the waves move along, they encounter fibers with the correct resonant frequency and energy is released. These fibers aren't actually what give us the signal that we heard something. There is a special structure next to these fibers containing hair cells. When the fibers resonate, they cause the hair cells to move, which then sends an electrical impulse to the cochlear nerve and onto the brain. Certain pitches of sound will resonate in specific locations, and louder sounds will cause more hair cells to move. Our brain interprets all this raw data, making it possible to enjoy things like music or an engaging conversation. Just to think that all of this is happening in your head right now at full speed. This is just one of the amazing systems found in the human body that go far beyond our humble human understanding.
Amazing, quick as well. Right? Why noise is so important to us is because it's all around us all the time. And in fairness, when we talk about noise at work, we get damaged with it really easy. Right? So really easy. I can't stress this enough. One of the reasons I can't stress it enough is because that's mine.
Earbuds.
Hearing aid.
Hearing aid. Right? That's a hearing aid. But it's also a muffler as well. Right? And or a suppressor, whatever you want to call it. It's a masker. They call it masker because I suffer with a thing called tinnitus. Or tinnitus, whichever way you want.
You got the ringing in the ear, bro.
Ringing in the ears, right? Ringing in the ears, right? So, I'm going to play you something, right? There is no visual. So just listen to it intently, because this is going to affect most of you. I don't know how long a lot of you has been in construction, but it's going to affect most of you. So just listen to it, listen to the words, and you'll go to me, can't hear it. Listen.
Imagine you couldn't hear music, conversation.
Everybody hear it all right?
Imagine you missed
the
phone and children's voices. Imagine you couldn't hear footsteps or the sound of approaching traffic. Not everybody has to imagine. Deafness and other damage to hearing caused by noise is still one of the most common types of work-related ill health. For most people, the deafness develops gradually. It gets slowly worse as you keep on being exposed to noise. Because it's gradual, you can be unaware of it until the problem is severe. Avoid the noise or protect your hearing properly and you can prevent this, or at least stop any deafness you do have from getting worse. High noise levels are found in many types of work, such as engineering, manufacturing, woodworking, construction, food and drink, entertainment and leisure. There are many possible sources of noise, for example, production machinery, power tools, ventilation systems, or even music. It could come from your work or the work work that other people are doing. In these demonstrations, we hear what loud noise can do to your hearing when you're exposed to it day after day, week after week. Say you come into the job at 18 and you're fit and healthy. This is what it should sound like. Like this. You've no problems with your hearing, but after just 2 years in the job, this is what the world could sound like to you. Already you're going deaf, but you probably won't have noticed it yet. It's not so bad when you're having a chat in a quiet place, when only one person is talking to you. But go into a crowded place, and already you're missing out on what your friends are saying to you. Remember, this is what it would be like if your hearing wasn't damaged. At the age of 40, this is what it would sound like. You miss what people say, even when it's quiet, because with this type of deafness, the sounds you use the most are the consonants and speech. It sounds all muffled. It's almost impossible to go into a pub or a party, or like a visit to your family, standing for television. By now, you will know you're going deaf, but it's not too late to stop it if you would. This is what your hearing would be like if it wasn't damaged. I have had difficulty catching what I was saying then, because the sounds you miss the most with this type of deafness are the consonants in speech. It sounds all muffled. It's almost impossible if you go into a pub or a party, or try to listen to your family over the sound of the television. By now, you will know you're deaf, but it's not too late to stop it getting worse. By the age of 65, the years spent in noisy work have taken their toll, and with the aging process as well, you're now very deaf. That was what your retirement party could sound like to you. It's no fun, because you can't hear what anybody is saying. Even in the quiet of your own home, you're going to miss so much. By the age of 65, even a person not very much knows work will suffer some deafness in the brain. But, as you can hear now, it's nothing like as bad as the deafness you know. Deafness may not be your only problem. Noise can cause tinnitus too, a constant ringing, or rumbling, or buzzing in your ears that is there all the time, but is really noticeable when it's quiet, or when you're trying to go to sleep. So, protect your hearing. If your workplace can't be kept quiet, use the right sort of hearing protectors and make sure you fit them properly. Deafness caused by noise is incurable. Imagine what it would be like, but don't let it happen to you.
What can you say about that, eh? It's frightening, isn't it? But, as I say to you, I've got it. I live with it. When it's quiet, when it's the quietest in the house, is when it's the loudest. When I teach, is when I get it the longest. When it's the loudest. When the ringing in my ear is really getting into me. Right? It gives you unended stress. It gives you unended discomfort. It stops you getting a decent night's sleep. I get anything between 5 and 7 hours sleep a night. 5 and 7 hours. Well, that's all right. You think, oh yeah, do it one day, do it 2 days, do it every day. And that's when people change, right? And it's just from noise at work. It's a noise-related occupational health. The World Health Organization, have you ever heard of them? World Health Organization? They list it as the 3rd most non-fatal disease in the world. 3rd most non-fatal disease in the world. So it's not going to kill you, but it does kill people. It kills lots of people every year because they can't handle it. Apparently, supposedly, Van Gogh cut his ear off because of it. Lots of people commit suicide because of it every year. It drives people to absolutely despair. Now, my particular one does not get rid of my tinnitus. What this does is, these are specialist made ones as well, what this does is take that ringing away. It doesn't actually take it away. What it does is it gives me a different sound. So instead of getting the ringing, I get a shh, or I get a waterfall, or I get a beach sound. You know, when the water rushing on the beach, I get that instead. Right, so instead of getting the ringing, I get that. I still get the ringing, but what it does is it makes me concentrate on the other noise. Right, so all they're trying, that's what they call maskers, because it masks one noise with another. Yeah, go on.
I know, I can't.
All right, okay. That's all it does, is it masks one noise and the other. That cilia hair in your ears cannot be repaired. Right, it cannot be repaired at all. So just go back to sharing the screen to just give me some slides that go along with it. Right. Hang on, because I can't see it, so I need to stop staring at share again. It seems got its own little glitches, and you have to tick certain boxes for video and untick them for others. Right, so the cilia hair, these are healthy ones over here. This is healthy ones up the top there. You also get cilia hair in the nose and the ears, but they are slightly different. These are the damaged ones, and these are the unrepairable. You see where they were nicely floating around like they were in some sort of ocean. Right, that's when they're all nice and healthy and straight. But you see the little green ones down there, they're for lower frequencies. So there's thousands and thousands. They are talking about ultrasonic pulses, about repairing them with that, but they still haven't got it right. They still haven't got it to the stage where they need to. So basic concept of noise is, is any source of noise, if you like. A chainsaw, hi-fi, disc cutter, they emit pressure waves into the air. These pressure waves are longitude, right? So as they come out, they come down and they come in through the cochlea and come down, and then they're transmitted to the brain. How we listen to them or how we interpret them, they come on a sinusoidal wave, right? And the reason they're sinusoidal is because we record them, right? Because they are absolutely vast in the megahertz range. So we use a logarithmic scale. Anything that's large, a long scale, we use logarithmic. We use it in this sort of way, instead of a direct way. The reason we do that is because if we done it in a direct way, you wouldn't see anything on the graph. Does that make sense? Because the graph would have to be so big, you wouldn't be able to get far enough back to see it. And if you got far enough back to see it, you wouldn't have a vision of it. So basically, because it's so intense, it's how we interpret it. So when we look at this graph, we're looking at the threshold of hearing is 0. So go back to the graph, 0. Threshold of pain, 130 stroke 140 decibels. So it depends where you are, in what sort of scenario and where you're reading it. It can be anything, threshold of pain is anything between 130 to 140 decibels. So if you put 130, you'll generally be on the other books say it is 140. Right, because it's a logarithmic scale, we read it as an A rating. So it says DBA A at the end of it. The A is how we interpret. The easy way you can do this, is you can get an app. You can get an app on your phone. It's not accurate, right? It's not accurate, but it will give you some sort of idea of the noise level in your workplace. And then, if you consider it to be excessively noisy, you can say, perhaps we need to do a noise assessment. Yeah, it's as simple as that. That's the easiest way of describing it. That particular guy we were talking about earlier, John, he said to me, Frank, he said in my workplace is 70 decibels. He said, I got the app. He said it's 70 decibels inside. I said, well, that's pretty good. He said it's 130 decibels out on the street. And I said, Jesus. Right, I said, but you can tell. He said, just outside, because he was in the centre of London. He was on a big project, about 10 other site managers on there with him. He said, you can tell. He said, it's not obviously accurate because I should be going like that. walking down the road, and he said it wasn't that bad. I said, well, you do get used to it, unfortunately. You do get used to it, and then you get temporary hearing loss, you get temporary hearing shock. And it's like when you go to a concert or anything like that, you can get temporary hearing shock. So when we look at this logarithmic scale, so from a 0, right, to threshold of pain, there's 13 zeros on it. Right? So just to give you some idea, a trillion is 12 zeros. Right? So it is a massive scale. And if you've done it as a straight line measurement, you'd probably go to the moon and back several times, I expect. So we use a logarithmic scale. So how do we define that as well? When we double sound intensity, this is where we're going to lose you a little bit. You're now going to start losing you. You're now going to start dropping out. Right? So when we looking at sound intensity, right, I'll keep with the visuals as well, just to make sure you understand. Threshold of hearing, 0 decibels. Threshold of pain, 130 decibels. Right, so when you're talking about rustling of leaves and that, it's only down to 10. A vacuum cleaner, 80 decibels. 80 decibels, right? So you'll sort of relate to this, right? Large orchestra, rock concert, you're in the 100 decibel mark. Right, so we've got certain requirements when we do things. So if you were running a job, and it's a very dirty job, let's say, and we had a lot of activity going on the job, and say we're coming to the end of the site and we want to get the cleaners in, right? And let's say we're doing a nursing home, we've got a large communal hall, and you say, right, we need the cleaners in there, do that, to get that hall that way, or a school or a college, or a small room, and we get the cleaners in, you say, right, go over there with the Uber and I'll go and get another one. You've done that, haven't you? Have you done that? Gone and got another Uber and started with a second Uber in the same room? Yeah? Yeah? Right, so we got the Hoover in there, 80 decibels. Vacuum cleaner, 80 decibels. If we brought another Hoover in there, what would be the decibel rating? Exactly the same Hoover.
83?
Yeah, back off, boss. He is right, right? Because he's smarter, because he's done this before, right? If we double the intensity, right, we +3. This is where we lose you, right? So you say, if we double the intensity, it's +3. If we're in a room and we're attacking the ceiling, or we're sparkies and we're fixing things in the ceiling, right, and we're drilling in the concrete, and we got a Makita drill and it's running at 70 decibels. If we bring another Makita drill in another person, and they're using 2 Makita drills, not Oz, I'm going to mute you, Oz, right, and we bring in two Makita drills at 70 decibels, right, each, exactly the same drills, exactly the same people, it would be, anyone, not Oz?
73.
73. Who's the other smart ass? Come on. Because whoever has listened to him, right, is right. So when we double the intensity, we +3. So if we brought in 10 guys into that room, what would it be then?
100. 100.
It would be 100. Oh, you're making out like you're stars, but he's messaged you in the chat, or if you double the intensity, as long as you get it, I don't care, right? If you double the intensity, you +3, right? It is as simple as that, right? It's as simple as that. But don't listen to him all the time because he'll get it wrong. When he gets it wrong, you all get it wrong, don't you, right? So if we double the intensity, we add 3 decibels. So that's important, right? We've got that concept going. When we look at the hertz range, human being, we're down here, we can hear anything from 20 to 20,000. So when we go back to the previous slide, right, rustling leaves are 10, right, a whisper 20. But we can hear rustling leaves, we can hear them. So some of us are a little bit better than others. Some of us can hear right down to the 10 decibels, and some of us can't. So human being, we're around the 20 to 20,000 mark. When we lose the hearing capability at speech level, we lose it around the 4,000 to 5,000 kilohertz mark. Right? Why we lose that? That loses us. That loses our ability to hear speeches that's going on. Right. So that's how we. That's when you look at a dog. You know, dogs can hear high pitched sounds. They can hear up to 46,000. Look at a dolphin, 130,000. But you can't hear the rustling of the leaves. You can't hear the vacuum cleaner. You can't hear the rock concert going on. You can't hear all of that, but you can hear up to 130,000 hertz. Amazing, isn't it? He's got that good a hearing, but you can't hear the lower section. Rat, again. Have you ever wondered when you're walking around and you see a rat and he don't do anything because he can't hear you. He can't hear you because he's down in he can hear us in a range of 1,000 upwards. He got really good high pitched noises. As again, bats are high pitched noises, right? But he can't hear the lower level. You know, bats fly into a lot of things because they can't. And what they do is send out pulses, and it bounces back to them, and that's how they navigate. Right? Clever stuff. All clever stuff. All done by noise. Deaf kid, or he's a blind kid. He sends out clicks, and he can play basketball. Right? Because what it does is it bounces off other things around it, and he knows where other people are, and he can see where other things are. By sending out clicks, noises from his mouth. It comes off, bounces back, and comes back to him.
Sonar.
Huh?
Sonar.
Yeah, absolutely amazing, right? So when we look at the A rating, because we do come on to the A rating now, the A rating is basically a meter. It replicates the human ear, right? And effectively, when we look at the A rating, it's an average, if you like, but it's how we record it with an instrument. That instrument says I can replicate the human ear, and I will put an A on the end of it. When we use the C rating, it's a peak value. Right? C values are not very good. They're really high, and they generally be damaging your ears. But that's a sudden shock. You know, when you get the gun going off, when you get the loud bang, when somebody hits the metal bit, in a steel yard, and it just sends that shock wave straight through your ears. That's C rating. A is an average rating. Alright? So when we look at this, was you going to ask something, pal?
No, sorry.
I thought you was going to ask something. There was right. When we look at this here, this is an equivalent noise exposure level. Right? It's the next one to get the background, and it can be a bit complicated. Right? So when we look at, we know if we double the intensity, right, we add 3 decibels. Right? So when we look at 85 decibels for 8 hours, that is the same as 103 decibels for 7.5 minutes. Right? It's about the dose and the duration. Right? See, so if you were working in somewhere for 103 decibels, you would do as much damage to your ears in 7.5 minutes as you would at 85 decibels in 8 hours. Right? That's what?
So I think the rules on site, if it's anything between 80 to 85, it's a responsible thing to do. But anything above 85, you have to wear your 85 to 90. You have to wear your ear protection, and then above that, you have to do something different. I think something.
Yeah, but we'll cover that in a second. Right? We'll cover that in a second. So don't let's not run away with ourselves for a moment.
No, just remember that.
Yeah, no. I'm just trying to say to you, this is where we're looking at here. This is about the dosed.
Yeah.
It's about the dose ratings. Now, you have had this question, and someone did question it and said to me, "That's the same as vibration." I said, "No, it's noise." Right? Or it was, "Isn't that noise?" And I said, "No, it's vibration." Whichever the question was, I can't remember. Right? But I did explain it to you. It's about upper and lower values, right? Upper and lower values, right? And peak values. And this is where we're coming to now. So when we look at the UK Control of Noise Work Regulations, or CNOR as they know it, we have a daily work noise dose at equivalent continuous level, right? right? So that's the LEPD, right? The LEPD. So an example is if the noise exposure is calculated to be continuous, personal noise level above 85 decibels, this is equivalent to exposure of a continuous noise at an unvarying level of 85 decibels for 8 hours. That's what I just said to you a minute ago, and that's what I'm going to, I'm repeating. So it's, if you're doing the 85 for 8 hours, that's the same as 103 for 7.5 minutes. It's the same as a 94 for 1 hour. It's as easy as that, right? So the next bit, we then have levels that we need to adhere to. Yeah, just going to come down. The regulations, what they say, right? We have a lower exposure action value, 80 decibels. That 80 decibels, forget this bit in the blue because you'll never be questioned on it, right? The 80 decibels, perhaps you want to take a photograph of it, I don't know, whatever you want to do. Right, so the lower exposure action value, what do we have to do? Anyone know what we have to do?
Provide air protection?
Yes. Instruction and training as well.
Yeah.
Right, we have to make it available. We have to make it right. So when we hit that level of 80 decibels, which is quite loud, right, we have to arrange for a noise assessment by a competent person. Now, you can be a competent person if you've got a machine and you're trained how to use it and it's calibrated. You then become a competent person. If you're trained how to use it, you've got to be trained how to use it, right? So you can arrange a noise assessment by a competent person. Make hearing protection available. Provide information, instruction and training. That's the lower level, right? Because this section here is the first action value, like the first bit we're going to worry about. If it hits the upper one, what do we do then?
Ensure hearing protection is used.
Yes, enforced. Enforced is the word you're looking for. Yeah, it is. So you not only giving it and they've thrown it in the bin, but now you can actually say you're going to use it, right?
How about to try to reduce the noise and to set up exclusion zone?
Yeah, you can, yeah. Reduce exposure by other means than PPE, of course, 100%. Exclusion zones, signage, right?
You can rotate operatives to minimize the exposure.
No, you're not controlling the noise though, are you? Really? Okay. So, right, job rotation is not controlling the noise. All you're saying is you're only partially deaf and you're only partially deaf. Right? See, so we need to do a little bit better than that. We can't do that, just that. That's what we would do for vibration, if you like. See, so at the moment, we would definitely arrange for a noise assessment by a competent person. Noise assessment, that's one. Right? Reduce exposures by other means not PPE. PPE is the last line of defence always. Designated hearing protection zone. Mandatory signage, that means all the signs have got to go up and say this is a noise level. Issue PPE and enforce it. Provide information, instruction and training. Boom. Right, so there's lots of things we can do. We can isolate the noise, we can remove the noise, we can insulate the noise. There's lots of things we can do. We can put up screening, because obviously if that noise, we can't just keep making that noise, because that noise transmits and goes out past the site walls, doesn't it? Right? And we can't give hearing protection to the people outside the site, can we? Right? See, so, it's lots of things. When we hit the bottom one, exposure limit value, anyone know what we should do there?
Stop working.
Well, not necessarily stop working, but the person, no employer must exceed or expose employees to that noise level. So we need to control it, bring it down, right? And which takes into account the protection provided by hearing protection. So if an employer does get that exposure level, it must be stopped and investigated, and an investigation must take place to ascertain why it's got to that sort of level. We need to then bring it back down, put some control measures in. So when we talk about basic control measures of noise, isolation is one. Right? Isolating the source of noise from the person. Right? That's the easy one. Right? So if we can build a shed around it, that's a good one.
Acoustic blankets.
Huh? Yeah?
Good acoustic blankets.
Yeah, acoustic blankets is insulation though. So, you know, I'm on isolation at the moment. So if we isolate it, right, if we can select us, give it
we can select tools with the lowest output.
Oh, smack it. Right on, grab the tools with the lowest noise output. Of course it is. Use electrical tools instead of petrol, diesel driven tools, yeah? 100%. Use plastic gear instead of metal gear rings. You know, there's lots of things we can do. Electric motors instead of diesel and petrol motors. So that's isolating it, if you like. That's adapting to a different technical process. Absorption, which is reflecting the noise and bringing it back in. So you can use acoustic. You know, if you go into a recording studio or anything like that, they use egg boxes. Egg boxes that bounces the noise back in. It stops it from going back out. Right? They paint things black. Again, black reflects the noise back in. Dampening and silencing. So you can put insulation there. So to stop, you know, rubber underneath the mountings of engine points. When you've got a car, it's on great big rubber mountings, and the reason is to stop you being shaken to bits and the noise being transmitted into the metal. Right? Because if you've ever used an SDS drill and put it up against a metal girder, the vibration and the noise is absolutely horrendous, and it travels straight throughout the building. Personal hearing protection is always the last resort. Always the last resort. So when we look at controlling noise, we're looking at the source of the noise, path of the noise, and the person are exposed to the noise, right? So we just reducing the noise at source, change the source from one to the other, relocate, moving it, doubling it, or moving it a meter away will half it and half the sound twice. So if you've got something at 100 decibels at 2 meters, if I move to 3 meters, it would not be 97, because remember, if I half the intensity of noise, I take off 3, so it would not be 97, it would be down to 94 decibels, just by moving a meter away. So if I moved 2 meters away, it would increase again. Right? So doubling the sound intensity, we add 3, halving it, we're gonna -3, aren't we? So right, so obviously diesel, petrol engines, you know, use electric if you can. Pneumatic tools, change to electric tools. Instead of using riveting, we weld instead. So, get rid of solid gears and use rubber tires instead. Metal gearing and bearings, use plastic ones, fibre ones, things like that. Acoustic shielding and screening is another good way. Acoustic havens, which is a place where you can go where it's completely silent, where you're not listening to all that noise, you know, you can get away from it, so you can gain some peace, you know what I mean? Limiting exposure time, which is what you did say earlier, Claude. It's okay, but it's not the greatest. It's not the greatest, but it is certainly. And the last one we'll be looking at is health surveillance, because it's not really good, right? Because we should need to be controlling it better than health surveillance. But health surveillance is like after the fact, like let's just check, see if your hearing's getting worse. Let's keep checking. If we can control the noise, it's a better option to us. It's always going to be the best option, trying to control it in the first place. So as I say, you can relocate the noise, move it to someone else. You can get it done off-site. What about that? Getting it done outside. No, getting it done off-site. So if we can, they can control it better in their controlled environment. It's the same with when we're talking about dust and how dust is spread around. you know, if it's cut off site and it comes into your cut, it's easy, isn't it? Because we've not got to control it in any way. It's all been done for us. It's just come to site prefabricated, if you like. So when you've got something, say, like at 112 decibels, let's say a metre, if we move it away to 2 metres, it'll be 106. 4 metres, about 100 decibels. 8 metres will be down to 94 decibels. You can see just by moving 8 metres away, we've halved it again, halved it again, halved it again, halved it again. You know what I mean? We've really got, I know it doesn't sound a lot, but from 94 to 100 is double the intensity and double the intensity twice. Yeah? Right, so when we look at how do we protect against it, this is one of the easiest ways of protecting against it. And they're earplugs and ear defenders. Any of you use them on site?
Yeah.
Yeah. All of you know how to use them on site?
Yeah.
Who's yipping? I can hear yep. Go on, leave that.
Fella.
Oh, okay, yeah. Right, so you'll use them on site. How many of you know how to use them properly?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. That's one. That's good. Because I want you to know how to use them properly. Because if you look at them, right, and you can see it on that green bottle, if you can look at them, right, you'll see on the back of the box there's instructions. And most people, most plumbers, electricians, and everybody else who get these mainly don't read instructions, right? So they don't read instructions because they're not interested. And they're too busy, they're too complicated, and I'll just put them in, right? So when you put these things in, roll them up, yeah? Roll them up when you're here. All right, really push that one in. Roll it up. In. I didn't push that one in quite so hard because I didn't want to hurt myself. Can you see this one?
Yeah.
You can see it? Well, good. See that one?
Yeah.
All right. Can you see that one good?
No.
All right. The reason being is because this one's coming out already.
Didn't pull your ear up.
There you go. Didn't pull my ear up. Right, and this is an easy check for you as site managers. You can walk around site, you can see who's got them in, you see who's got them in correctly. That one's in because it's nicely shadowed down inside. It's right in there, look. And I pushed that in a lot less than the other one. This one here, I didn't pull my ear up. And look, it's there. It's out. It's waiting to come out. It's not doing absolutely nothing. This one here is in. And we'll take some doing. I don't know if you're ever going to get that out ever again. Right, but it's right in there. Now, when I'm going to take it out, I'm going to grab it and I'm going to twist it. Did I do that?
Not pull any hairs out with it.
Eh?
Not to pull any hairs out with it.
Not to pull any hairs out with it. Eh? If you ever had anything like it, you'd look. Right? I'm going to twist it. Or I'm going to do exactly the same as when I put it in, and I'm going to release the pressure, right, in my ears. I've just dropped on the floor. Right, but anyway, I'm going to release the pressure in my ear. What I can do when I pull it out, I can pull a vacuum. And when I pull the vacuum, I can pop my eardrum. It's easy as that. What I'm giving to protect is now going to cause me harm. Right, so I can't be any plainer than that. If you look at this here, show you, go back to the slides. You can see them, there they are. There's the instructions down the side, the instructions on the back of the packet. Right, roll it up, lift it with your ear and push it in. Once it's in correctly, it's there. You can see it only just, but you can easily monitor it. Right, and what we do is monitor, supervise. Yeah, this is what we do as site managers. But if you look at the one next to it, you can clearly see it's working its way out already. Right, it doesn't take long. When it's working its way out, it's obviously putting the person who's using it in danger. Now, when you can see it, it says when you remove the earplugs, first push to the side of your ear, like that, it releases the pressure, or grab it and twist it. Because what you do is you break the vacuum. Just break the vacuum, because if you just pull it out, you can pop your eardrum. If you pop your eardrum, it will bleed, and I don't know if it ever repairs. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's certainly very, very painful. Right? It's not a good way to go forward, and you'll be in a lot of pain for a long time, and you won't be able to get any water in it or anything else. So, you know,
I don't even want to wear them now.
Huh? Well,
it's more dangerous.
It's not more
I don't
dangerous.
even want to wear them now.
No, just as long as you do that, just literally like that, just press your ear and get rid of that vacuum. It's pressure. Or grab it and twist it. So just as simple as that, literally just rub your ear like that, and all it does is let the air back in there, and then it allows you to get it out. Right, so yeah, wear them, please wear them. Don't ever say that, because you get that ringing in the ears. When you go to bed tonight, imagine, do you remember the old clocks?
Yeah.
Tick, 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 tick. Well, imagine that, but instead of going tick, tick, tick in your room, and it takes a long time to get used to them clocks, which you've got them in your bedroom. Imagine it, going like that all night long, and that's all it does. And it drives.
That was well out of my frequency range.
It drives you absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. It drives you mad, and you can't get sleep. And on a hot night, or the more you cuddle up, the more you go under the quilt, the more you do anything, it just gets worse and worse and worse. So protect your hearing, because you only get one lot of it. Protect your breathing. You only get one lot. I can't be any plainer than that. Really. You know what I mean? If you go back a couple of slides, you'll see there is noise exposure with ready reckoners, weekly exposure, and daily exposure levels. They're complicated. They are hard to work out. You need to be protected. You need to make sure your guys are doing the right sort of things, right sort of supervision and everything else. Right? Carry on, ear defenders. Right? When we use these, this is how we generally see them. Right? Right? This is how we generally see them. Right? It's ear defenders. They're damaged. Right? They're broken. This is how you generally see them hanging off a whacker plate or something like that. They're not good, but they do provide good hearing protection. But all of this stuff is rated as well. So you can't just drop it 20 decibels. You can't just drop it 10 decibels. It's important that you select the right sort of rating for what you do. Noise is done.
Right. Even some of those are, only one of them is approved in that last picture you showed there, Frank.
Look, James, when you talk, you've got to sit still. When you talk and you rustle and you move, we don't catch anything you say. So, what did you say?
I was just wondering.
Yeah.
Because obviously on a site you're using, there'll be wear and tear sometimes very quickly of those like those ear masks that you had last minute. Yeah, so the first one is approved and the rest of them are not. But my quick question was just that it is still better to use like one of them that's ripped up a little bit than not.
Not necessarily. The other one's disposable and it requires zero note maintenance. They've both got pluses and they've both got against with it. These are easy to see if people are using them, but they have to be at the correct rating. If you don't know that they're the correct rating, look, I'll show you on the packet. Right? If I show you on the packet, if you can see it, eyesight's not so great, but it's right. They're 25 and they're class 4. Right? So they bring you. Can you see that or not? Let's stop sharing so I can see myself.
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
Yeah, you can see it, so they've got ratings on it. Right, the whole point of the ratings, they've all got their two similar things. Remember what I was just showing you about the upper exposure limit values and things like that? We're now going to talk about vibration. It's got similar ones, and it's really easy to get confused on the questions. Right, you've probably already got confused in the first exam paper. You're going to get another exam paper tonight. I suggest you do it. Right, it's worth you doing. I'll give you it in 2 formats again. We're just going to finish with vibration. Just get this one out of the way. Right. So let's get back to sharing screen and get on and finish it away. Right. It doesn't take long, in fairness. Right. So, right, vibration. When we talk about vibration, we're talking about hand-arm vibration and whole body vibration. We talk about the control of vibration of work regulations 2005. So when we look at hand-arm vibration, it's caused by holding vibrating tools or equipment. The health effects includes loss of dexterity, grip, numbness, tingling, blanching of the digits, swollen, painful joints, reduced strength. Typical tools that will give us it. That's the slide that you want to take the shot of. Right, typical tools that will give us it include drills, sanders, pneumatic breakers, and lawnmowers. When we look at this, right, if you've ever done some sanding at home, let's say you sanded down the skirting or you sanded down the staircase, and you've used a sander for a half an hour to an hour, you would put it down at the end of it, and you think, my hand is tingling. I'm in lots of sensational pain. Well, this is what can happen to you when you get hand-arm vibration. Whole body vibration is a really difficult one, and it's really hard to see. It's really hard to record. Hand-arm is really easy. Really easy. We can record it really easy, right? So whole body, totally different, right? Whole body vibration is caused by vibration transmitted through the body, supporting structure like a seat or a floor, something that's sat on, and basically it's where you sat on a roller, a dumper, a digger, or some sort of machinery. They did in the 70s and 80s, they've done a lot of trains. And basically they caused a lot of motion sickness with it because it was at the wrong frequency, the wrong resonance, right? And it made a lot of passengers feel unwell, and it was just because of the whole body motion, whole body vibration, right? And it does do it. It's as easy as that. It can give you backaches, it can give you nausea, it can give you sleepless nights. There's lots of things it can do, or lots of different ways it can affect you, because our body reacts the same sort of way whenever we get it, right? It can give you insomnia, pain, you know what I mean? It's headaches, stomach fatigue, stomach problems. So the whole body vibration, But whole body vibration is hard to record because there's no one piece of equipment to record it. That's the problem with it. All we can do is get manufacturer's data for what the machines are. Now, when we look at it, we've got certain limits what we need to abide by, right? And these are the most you're going to get questioned on this. For hand-arm vibration, they don't really generally mention whole body, right? Is exposure action value. Do not use the acronyms. It will say, what is EAB, right? And the same with the other one, with the noise one, it will ask for the lower and upper, right? In its exposure action value. The lower exposure action value is 2.5 meters per second squared. The exposure limit value is 5 meters per second squared. Right? That's as much as you're going to get questioned on vibration. If they're going to ask you how to control vibration, as an employer, how would you control vibration to your operatives?
First try avoid.
Avoid it.
Avoid if you can. So how do we avoid it? Good man, I love it. You're just getting so good at this. Right? How would we avoid it?
By getting
done off site, really. So if we can avoid it. If we can't avoid it, how would we control it? So we can't get rid of it. Using getting a machine to do it is better than doing it by hand, isn't it? So right. So obviously, if we can use a mechanical process rather than a manual process, so if we can't avoid it in any way, we can't get rid of that, we can't do control measures, how would we control it then another way?
Limiting the time.
Limiting the time, yeah. Job rotation. Job rotation, isn't it? That's what we're looking at, isn't it? We're looking at job rotation. If we can change it, keeping people warm. What about that?
Warm and dry.
Warm and dry. Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. What about repetitive strain injury?
Again?
What about repetitive strain injury, which is another form of it? How would we control that? Use the other hand. What about use the other hand? Because this was yesterday's, wasn't
Swap the hands.
Huh? Swap hands.
Swap
right?
the hands.
Yeah, change hands. Have a posh one and use the other hand for a change. You know what I mean? So use a different hand, right? But again, in repetitive strain injury can be a form of it as well, because it's muscle strains, it's musculoskeletal, right? So if we're looking at vibration, how are we going to control it? Go on, carry on. Give me something else. Give me something else.
Changing what you're doing at the same time.
Huh?
So if you're chasing out the wolves, stop chasing and do something else.
Yeah, how?
Regular breaks.
Regular breaks, yeah, we mentioned that. Go on. I'm looking at exam questions as well. That's why I'm letting you fill in the blanks. So I'm looking at exam questions to make sure I cover it and just make sure that you are doing the most important things for me. But go on, carry on.
Yeah, if you can avoid.
Yeah, avoid, we said
Or
that.
use
Yeah.
other machines.
Last resort will be PPE, wouldn't it? So air defender.
Yeah, it's always going to be last resort PPE, yeah. So we're looking at control measures. What's the best way of doing it?
Avoid.
Keep it warm, keep it dry. That's one, definitely. All right, regular job breaks, yeah. Job rotation, yes, 100%.
Hand rotation.
Huh?
Hand rotation.
Hand rotation, yeah, of course it is. Because if you're constantly using one hand, and this is why I said to you repetitive strain, because I tried to lead you in on that one to say change hands. Right? Because sometimes when you're using a drill, most of you are left-handed or right-handed, whatever your case may be, you will only ever use a drill in your right hand. But when your arm gets tired, when your hand gets tired, what do? Swap hands, don't you? Yeah, you do. You swap hands. Even though I'm one of these people who's ambidextrous, so I can use both hands, right? But you would generally use the other hand because it's getting to a point where I had 4 Sparkies in the course yesterday, right? And Sparkies use screwdrivers a lot, cutters quite a lot, and they can't use them in other hands. That's the problem, so they get repetitive strain injury from it. But hand-arm vibration, they also get a lot of that. Why do they get it? Because they're using hammer drills and everything else, right? So if you're asked the question, it's exposure action value, exposure limit value, the 2 questions. Do not use the acronyms, right? Do not use the abbreviations, the EAV and the ELB, because you'll be asked that. Don't give it back, right? Alternate the work methods, eliminate or reduce exposure to vibration, alternate work equipment, use the better stuff. Pick tools that got the lowest vibration value. Right? Pick it with the lowest vibration value. Right? I'm quite surprised none of you didn't say anti-vibration gloves. Right?
Someone did.
PPE is the last resort.
I'll tell you why. I was waiting for, because someone always says it every single time and no one said it. I'm a bit disappointed really because I like people to say things. Right? Is anti-vibration gloves don't work. Right, it's as simple as that. Don't work. Right, so they are absolutely no good. There's no proven background on them to say that they work. Right, adjust the work schedules instead. Share the job rotation. That's the better way of doing it. Right, you need to assess it. You need to risk assess it. When we assess it, hang on, I just want to drop slides. I don't want you to see all of them. There's no point in all of them. Right, so when we drop vibration, right, the type of tools, I'm going through the slides here, so I can just shorten it a bit. The type of tools that's going to give us it are chipping hammers, grinders, power hammers, hammer drills, pneumatic tools, road breakers, sanders, cutters, chainsaws. Right, that's the kind of tools that's going to give us it. Right, What we're going to get with it, we're going to get sort of the blanching of the fingers. This is what we call vibration white finger. The reason I'm concentrating on halves, as in hand-arm vibration rather than whole body, is because it's easy to control. It's easier to see. That's the kind of thing you would get. It's white finger, but it can also be confused with Raynaud syndrome. Right? It can also be confused with that. It's really easy to spot, but it's very hard to diagnose. That's why you've got to get professional help. Right? That's after riding a motorbike for 20 minutes down the road. It's exactly the same as white finger, but it's not. It's just because you've had a grip on the motorbike's an old bone shaker, and it rattles and vibrates through your hands. So, gone through them. You know, I'm just going to come down because I want to show you some of the calculating tools, which is easier. Heavy labels. What should be on the machines? It should be on the machines that you're using and operating. It's an easy way of identifying it. We've also got an app, a heavy calculator. There is also ready reckoners, so you can use them along there on the charts. There is also a calculator sheet. This is really easy to use. As a site manager, this is what I would expect from a contractor as a minimum. Right, as a minimum. I want to go through it and I will just show you. Right, and I want to show you the calculators as well. I want to show you some other things while we're on it. So let me just grab it and bring it up. Maybe. This is a heavy calculator. You can use this personally or it can be attached to the machine. Right, so basically you put in the value of the machine. Once you finish it, you program it and it will record what you are and it will give you your EAB. Right. At the end of the day or the end of the period, it's constantly monitored. But you can get these attached to the machine or you can put them on a bracelet and wear them on your wrist. Right, so that's that type. I'm now going to show you the heavy calculator. Right, this is what I would require as a site manager from whoever's going to turn up on site. So, okay, looking at this, so I'm going to put my name in up there. So Frank's company. Right, employee name, I'm going to put James because I can see him, he's right at the top of the screen. And I'm going to clear that, get rid of that, get rid of that. What do you do, James? You scrap me on here. Scrap me.
Yeah, scrap you, yeah.
Just trying to pick a tool for you now. So what do you use a lot of?
Paddy saw.
You what, sorry?
Paddy cutter, the paddy saw.
Bunches, brush cutters, chainsaws, mowers, edge trimmers, core drills, impact drills, grinders.
The grinder, basically, yeah.
Yeah, grinder. What, 180 or 200, 300? Which is it?
It makes a lot of noise. I don't know. It's got, got
300 blade or 100 blade?
Yeah, 300, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, 300. Right, there you go. Right, now look, you can see there, it's immediately filled it in.